Buonasera e benvenuti. Welcome to the halfway point of Simsport Racing, Assetto Corsa Competizione GT3 Season 3 Round 5 at Autodromo Nazionale di Monza. Alex Goldschmidt and Steve Bradley back again for what's going to be another exciting race. And this time, Steve, we have 90 minutes of madness set to take place here at the Temple of Speed.
Yeah, really looking forward to this one, Alex. It's good to be at Monza, where I think it's going to shake things up a little bit for the guys. There's been some interesting practice times, so who knows what qualifying is going to throw up, but I think we may be in for some surprises.
Well, before we get things really underway here at the Temple of Speed in Italy, the home of the Tifosi, let's have a look at just how committed you have to be at a hot lap here at Autodromo Nazionale di Monza. Welcome on board the number 69 Mercedes-AMG GT3 of Regan Mitchell as we go on a hot lap here at Autodromo Nazionale di Monza, crossing the start-finish line, heading down to the Rettifilo chicane, accelerating all the way up to 274 on the speedo from 6th all the way down the gearbox to 1st, 70 kilometers an hour on the first apex, 65 on the second, and then you start powering out of the corner, up through 2nd, up to 3rd, now up to 4th, going through the right at Curva Grande, hitting the apex at 5th gear, around about 220 kilometers an hour before you head towards the Variante della Loggia, the second chicane here, braking from 260 in 6th all the way down to 2nd, 80 kilometers an hour through the first apex, and through the right-hand second apex you accelerate from 100 kilometers an hour up to 4th gear, and you'll push around 200 k's before you brake around 50 meters out down to 130 on the speedo in 3rd gear, accelerate, pull 4th gear up to the second Lesmo, down again to 3rd, 130 on the apex. Now power out of the corner, track limits as you head towards the Curva del Seraglio. It's a left-hand kink here, and you're going to take the apex at full commitment at 225 kilometers an hour in 5th gear before pulling 6th, before the Variante Ascari. Now it's down from 6th gear down to 3rd, 140 kilometers an hour on the first entrance, and then into the exit at 180 before you start pulling the gears. You're up into 4th, you're accelerating up to 5th gear, now heading over to the Curva Parabolica, the final corner here at Monza, accelerating up to around 268 before you put on the anchors, down to 3rd, 135 through the first part of it, but then you start to accelerate. Now pulling 4th gear, going up the gears, exiting around 200 kilometers an hour, and you're going to accelerate to 5th and cross the line at 240 kilometers an hour in a 147.5. So around the 3.6 mile, 5.793 kilometer circuit. Now, Steve, it's quite a tough challenge. And I know for a fact that you decided to jump on the practice server before things really got started here this evening. There's a bit of a different twist in the tail that could be coming this very evening, apart from the fact of the massive run down to Rettifilo for the first time when we go green for 90 minutes a little bit later on. But just give us your thoughts on who's been sort of at the sharp end, who's been struggling a little bit, that kind of stuff, really.
Well, first of all, I'll just say a lot of the guys that are in the practice have been warning me off talking them up, as shall we say, because they're all worried that I'm going to give them the old commentator's curse, which they're saying every time I mention them or give them some praise, they end up spinning off at the next corner. But yeah, certainly in ACC, all the cars are bopped per track. So basically, you know, where one car's good at one track, it may not transpire that it's as good at the next track, and certainly Monza is maybe exaggerating that a little bit, with the guys in the Audis in particular really suffering. And as you saw from that fantastic hot lap from Regan Mitchell, the AMG is really shining here. It is the very fast car around this track, and I think the AMGs are going to be hard to keep up with. Ferraris are going pretty well, and obviously the Lamborghini. James Hartnell's been pretty consistent in practice. Another surprise to add, if they can get a good qualifying session in and get through that turn 1. The Jaguar boys, the Jags, are very fast in a straight line, so they're showing some good pace as well. So yeah, it's going to be very, very interesting, and I believe the grid is going to look a little bit different.
Well, it is going to look a little bit different because apparently Archie Clifford Roberts, who comes into this round with a massive margin of 71 points over Stephen Haley. 2 Audis leading the way. I understand that Arch isn't going to be with us this evening. Chris Crossman's still in the hunt for the title after 4 rounds. A big thank you to Jack Oliphant last time out, who took my place whilst I was elsewhere, as he got in and jumped in on all the action with Kyalami last time out. Aaron Walker, Dave Hedges round out the top 5 positions, followed by Hartnell, Critchley, Kakos, Mitchell and Abdoulaye Diop. Diop also not attending the evening's proceedings here at Monza. And you can see all the way down the order to around about, pretty much 32nd position, with the Mirage Motorsports Mercedes AMG of Chris Bowman in looking, it's actually the lowest classified in terms of anyone that has secured points in this so far. So it's a good spread all the way through the field at the moment, isn't it, Steve? As I think things are really, really hotting up as we're now hitting the halfway point, because this is where anything can happen. A 90-minute race round, Monza, could throw any particular curveball at any particular team, and we could see some drivers really capitalise on potential mistakes over the 90-minute encounter.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's going to be who can keep the nose the cleanest as well, just to maintain positions.
So, on your screens, you can see the teams' standings. The editors leading Hitotsuyama by what is effectively 68 points. BD Racing are on 326, a further 10 behind. Tempesta Racing, RPM, Barwell, Santalock, Afro Samurai, RS Motorsport and Bentley Team M Sport round out the top 10. As you can also see that the top 14 all have got points on the board. We look a little bit further down the order in terms of the teams, and all the way down to Mirage Motorsports. The top 25 teams have a point on the board at the very, very least for this evening. So now,
as suspected, there in quali, Alex. Sorry to jump in, but we've got James Hartnell topping the sheets at the moment with Kieran Verdago, Crossman, Riley, Kelsey. So the top 5 looks a little bit different, albeit maybe Chris Crossman's normally in there, but yeah, it's looking different already. Obviously still got 13 minutes to go, so plenty of time to put those laps in, but I think it's going to look very different to normal.
Well, that depends on obviously how quickly you put that lap in and how quickly it goes south, as Aaron Walker, currently running out the top 6 on he's about 0.885 off of the fastest lap so far, and it is coming from the 168 Ferrari 488 on home soil of Tempesta Racing's James Hartnell, absolutely blistering 1 minute. Well, he's gone even quicker. He's gone sub 1 minute 47 on that attempt. It was a 1:47.1. It's a 1:46.860. Aaron Walker 1.16 seconds off. And does he improve? No, he drops a position. He drops 2, in fact, as one of the Jaguars now comes out to play.
I think it speaks volumes, Alex, because obviously you've got Aaron Walker in 8th there, 1.1 off, and Steve Haley in 9th, 1.2. So the 2 teammates there in 8th and 9th. I'm just looking down. We've got Dave Hedges dropping down in 15th in another Audi, 1.6 off. So the Audis do seem to be up against it this evening.
Yeah, indeed they are. And Dave Hedges rounding out the top 15. But one of the biggest things here, Steve, is that Monza has always provided incredibly close qualifying. And here at ACC Season 3 round for GT3's round 5 is going to be no different. I mean, when you look at all the way down to the top 17, where Daniel Parker in the number 6 Emil Frey Jaguars is only 1.779 seconds off the pace, and as the track will evolve, some drivers will really, really come alive with it, and other drivers will falter. Regan Mitchell, who we saw on our hot lap, is currently P6 on a 1 minute 47.874. Adam Isalovic in the 111 Ferrari. And I know that someone has been looking forward to my pronunciations this evening, Mr. Proudly. Thank you very much. So I got to use the proper pronunciation for the cars as well nowadays, especially when we're on, you've got the virtual Tifosi in the grandstands as Salovic comes through Parabolica, will accelerate out of the corner, reaching around 200 kilometers an hour in fourth gear. And that particular engine will sound absolutely glorious heading down to the Rettifilio chicane, which is turns 1 and 2, and it's the slowest part on the circuit. But Steve, one of the other biggest things is that it's not just high speed, it's hefty braking that the drivers have to contend with as well.
Yeah, I mean, it makes so much difference to your lap time just getting the braking point right for that first chicane. That can set you up. It can make or break your lap, literally. We're not talking the odd tenth. You can be talking 3 or 4 tenths sometimes if you get it slightly wrong. You know, you heavy braking into there, but then you need a little bit of downforce around the back end for Lesmo 1 and Lesmo 2. You know, because getting those corners right, you know, every corner, all the tenths add up to a good lap. And as you saw Adam come out of Parabolica there to improve on his lap time, and he's gone second now. You know, just coming through Parabolica, you need so much patience before you sort of stamp fully on the throttle, because once you're on it, you don't want to lift off. As we're on board with James now, going through the first chicane. I'll let Alex pronounce the names.
God, I've always got that shoulder of language flexibility that Mr. Proudly always likes to put that through onto me. But Reese Wiggin coming through the Rettifilio chicane through Cova Grande, which is effectively turn 2, if you want to call the Rettifilio chicane. You now come up to the Seconda Variante, and then you've got. Well, the funny thing is that on one of the other championships that I commentated on, we had Adria, and it had Quadra Uno and Quadra Due. Well, here we have Lesmo Uno and Lesmo Due. So already I'm starting to get those pronunciations in, but I think I might revert to turn numbers if things get a bit hot and heated under the collar, as we definitely know that the temperature rises when you're racing at Monza with such glorious machinery. There's Reese Wiggin in the Optimum Motorsport 720S GT3 coming under the bridge, heading down to the Variante Ascari. You're going to brake from around 6th at 260 down to 3rd, and you'll actually enter into it at about 140 to 150 Ks and probably push close to 200, but you're keeping 3rd or 4th gear all the way through on the exit. And then it's the run down to Parabolica, where you're going to brake from around 100 metres out, from 6th down to 3rd, but then you come out of the corner. And one of the nice, interesting things about this corner here, Steve, is that the way that you power out of the corner, and he's really putting the toe down, is Reese Wiggin, heading over 140 miles an hour, up to 5th gear, crossing the line at nearly 240 kph, and just they're absolutely VMAXing these cars every single chance they get.
Yeah, absolutely see some traffic coming out of the pits there, so hopefully not distracted him, which it hasn't for his braking point. That was pretty good there, nice and tidy, nice and neat. And back onto the power for Reese there, obviously carrying on with another flying lap, trying to lift himself up from 19th. He's currently 2.2 on the pace.
So at the moment, it's a Ferrari 1-2. So James Hartnell on a 1:46.860 is 0.465 of a second quicker than the 111 Ferrari 488 GT3 of Adam Isailovic. Regan Mitchell just under 0.7 of a second behind, as Reese Wiggin now moves up into 19th position. Richard Pixley in the number 7 Jaguar. Look, these Jaguars look really, really well planted here this week. 12th for Pixley, 17th for Parker. And the Jaguars, they've got that proper good old British grunt underneath that long snout that they have on the XKRs. And that's going to be quite interesting to see how, if the Jaguars get into the opportunity of having a potential of a top 10 finish, I'm sure that they're going to exercise every single step of caution that they dare, especially going down the slipstream route.
Yeah, I think the Jaguars are going to be awesome in the early part of the race, where they're all bunched up still, but, you know, going down the straights where they've got that straight line advantage. If they can get the exit right out of Parabolically, that they don't even really need the slipstream. They'll probably just drive by some of the Audis. So yeah, the potential is there. And like any track, once you get track position, the car behind's got to do all the work. So if it doesn't matter if he's faster through the corners, he's not going to get by you if you hit those apexes, and then you're back on the straights where the Jag's got the upper hand, and it's the same for the Merc. So they're going to be very difficult cars to overtake on the track.
So there's Aaron Martin Pilkington in the 4-litre V8 twin-turbo powered Aston Martin Vantage GT3, running in the Oman Racing with TF Sport livery, number 626. Good to see that we've got Jeffrey Wolf in the Car Guy Ferrari down in 16th position, but only 1.5 seconds off of the pace at this particular moment.
Mr. Pilkinson's just going back to him. He's not really had a chance to shine, I don't believe, in this series so far. He's been a little bit unlucky, so it'd be good to see him up the standings this evening, and hopefully he'll have a good race. As we're looking at Mr. Bowman, who was he's had a good few practice sessions this week. I've been on the servers when he's been on, and he's putting in some respectable times. Hopefully he can get it together in this qualifying and improve on his current position.
Yeah, who knows? There might even be an opportunity for the number 12 Mercedes, running in the Ram Racing colours with the likes of I'm trying to remember one of the names now because I know the driver as well. Well, Tom Onslow Cole has raced with Ram Racing, and the other one that I'm just going to do a search because I know exactly what his first name is. Don't you just hate it when that happens? Johnny Molan, that's it. Johnny Molan is the other guy. He's raced with Ram Racing in years past when they've raced in Ferraris and also the iconic Mercedes AMG GT3s, and obviously the SLSs when that was being run as a GT3 back in the day. There's Richard Pixley coming through the Retafilio chicane, heading towards the right-hander at Curva Grande, and that looks like one of the bollards on the right-hand side has literally been thrown into the track, and Richard Pixley's air dam has just punted that over to the left-hand side of the circuit.
Well, we're coming into the last sort of 3 minutes and 40-odd seconds of qualifying now, so probably the last couple of laps, 2-3 laps maximum that the guys are going to get. Going to really be low fuel and trying the hardest now. Everything warm, tyres warm, brakes warm. As we're looking at Mr. Crossman, he's been struggling a little bit in practice to try and not so much to get the speed. He's not matching the speed of the faster cars, but Chris says that to get that speed he's having to compromise the setup, and it's a little bit loose and a bit twitchy, that Porsche. So I think he's pretty sure he's worked on a qualifying setup and a race setup, so he's got a bit more stability for the race.
Yeah, he's also been running in the GT4 series that we've been running for the past 3 weeks, and took a podium last time out at Kyalami. So that's going to be quite interesting when they head to Zolder this coming Wednesday for the penultimate round of the season. But obviously with Monza, after this, we'll be back in a couple of weeks' time with 2 sprint races at Zolder. And then it is the iconic Spa-Francorchamps on the 13th of September, where we will have a true test. And Steve and I were discussing this before the broadcast about how many repairs people are going to need when they go to Spa-Francorchamps, especially when you're heading through. Oh, now that was not what Kieran Vidago wanted at that particular moment in time, going through the Seconda Variante on the back end of that Porsche, quite literally stepping out, and that went spinning end over end. That's not what you want in qualifying, is it, when you've got a hot lap on the cards there, Steve?
No, definitely not. And Kieran doing really well this evening. He's up in 6th place. Another one of our GT3 and GT4 drivers. So he's up in 6th place, and who knows? He was maybe it only takes a couple of tenths for him to jump up to 4th place. So hopefully it wasn't that lap, and hopefully he's jumped back to the pits and out. But I think he's about out of time really to get a lap in now.
Yeah, if they're running in the 147s, as Lukas Kakos comes out of Parabolica in the Barwell Motorsport Lamborghini Huracan GT3. But I don't think he's improved on that particular occasion. He's P12, and he's only 7 1,000ths off of the second highest placed Audi, that is Aaron Walker in the 99. And you said that the Audis are struggling. Well, Chris Pinchbeck has actually changed cars. He's gone into an Audi now, hasn't he? from what I remember seeing on the Discord server as well, that he's gone into the Audi, and he's only just under 1.1 seconds off the pace, but he's quicker than Mark Neutelings, who rounds out the top 10, and Aaron Walker. I mean, the thing is, yeah, you were right, the Audis are really, really struggling. So at the moment, it's 2 Ferraris, so it's 1-2 for Ferrari, Mercedes in third, Porsche, Ferrari, Porsche, Ferrari. 3 manufacturers in the top 7. And then you got Rich Smith in the Tech 1 Racing RCF GT3, rounding out the top 9 positions. And the Lexus looking pretty handy around here as well.
Yeah, just say, as you're talking there, Chris Pinchbeck has just improved, and he's within a second of the pole position time now, and he's jumped up to 7th. So that's a fantastic performance from Chris, fastest of the Audis. That's brilliant. That no mean feat.
Yep, in the BioCircle Team WRT colours, who this weekend have just been competing in the DTM and the ADAC GT Masters. They are an Audi Sport customer racing team, but it's good to see another bright set of colours in the ACC Season 3 GT3 side of things here, as the checkered flag is now out for qualification ahead of a 90 minutes race that will have everyone talking. Chris Pinchbeck coming through the second Lesmo. And then we'll head down to Curva del Seraglio, which is literally taken flat out in 5th gear, 225 kilometers an hour. Before you go under the bridge, you'll brake before the Ascari chicane at around about 130 meters out, down from 6th down to 3rd. And you can just see how much commitment Chris Pinchbeck has got going through the entrance. And the car nearly, well, that is a very, very wide line, because he just literally was so aggressive, putting the power down and coming out of the second part of the Ascari chicane. That effectively won't be, I think, a lap that is going to be considered. And plus, it's also lost him time. He'll come through Parabolica for the final time in the 20-minute qualification session here at Monza.
Yeah, I think that obviously definitely invalidated his lap there with that time. But, you know, I mean, just touching on the GT4s, if anyone hasn't seen any of the GT4 races, the pick of the bunch at the moment is the Kyalami race from last week. Definitely go watch that race. And my driver of the event, Mark Neutlins, is in 10th place here. He had a fantastic drive. That was awesome.
Yeah, I think one of my drivers of that evening was Michael Haffenden. He was brilliant going through the crocodiles back then. But let's have a look at how things rounded out. So it was James Hartnell and it was Adam Isailovic that took the top 2 positions. Chris Crossman rounded out the top 3 ahead of, I think it was Regan Mitchell, Chris Crossman, Dean Riley, Kieran Vidago, Chris Pinchbeck, Ranjith Kelsey, Rich Smith, Mark Neutlings rounding out the top 10 ahead of Richard Pixley and Aaron Walker. Lucas Karkos not able to get that Lamborghini up any higher, 13th in the end. Stephen Haley down in 14th position ahead of Daniel Parker, so both Jaguars making it into the top 15 ahead of Jerry Wolf. Gavin Utley, Dave Hedges, Ian Tamkin, Reese Wiggin, Chris Bowman, Aaron Martin Pilkington, Bliv AK and Paul Lindsay rounding out the 24. Also, we have to give Gavin Utley a shout out as well, because he won the GT4 event last time out at Kyalami for the GT4s.
Yeah, it was absolutely solid drive from Gavin. Was that he just got himself up to the front, kept his head down, and stayed out of trouble. And I think it was about 5.5 second lead he managed to win by. So absolutely fantastic. Yeah, so we've got a few minutes until we start the 90-minute race here at Monza. Steve, just take us through briefly the format. How many pit stops have the drivers got to do? Is it two mandatory pit stops from all drivers this evening? No, it's just one mandatory pit stop where they have to change tyres. There will be refuelling, because I don't think any of the cars can go for 90 minutes, except for maybe the Bentley with a little bit of fuel saving. But yeah, they can take fuel, but they have to take tyres, and they can pit at any point in the race. There's no time slot for it, so just one pit stop.
Yeah, but also we do have to talk about the forthcoming endurance event, 12 hours, being held on I think it is October the 3rd, and it will start at noon, British time, and finishing at midnight. It is going to be run around the Nurburgring Grand Prix circuit, Teams and drivers will be able to enter a maximum of 3 teams in either GT3 and GT4, or a mixture of both. Custom liveries will be permitted in both classes, and it's a maximum of 30 GT3 teams with a maximum of 4 drivers per team, and 20 GT4 teams also with a maximum of 4 drivers per team. But it is a minimum requirement of 2 drivers per outfit itself. But also, one of the biggest things that is happening about the 12-hour Nurburgring endurance charity race is that it will be broadcasted. Unfortunately, I am otherwise engaged and I would love to be a part of it, so I might have to do a bit of spectating and maybe throw some banter in the relevant chats online. But we are supporting Mind for better health, and Mind is a long-standing charity of over 60 years that is dedicated to providing support to people who suffer with mental health problems, and they will never let up. They'll never give up until everyone who needs help gets both the support and the respect they deserve. So we're basically going to help Mind help others in the process. And I think in some respects, Steve, this is, let's be honest here, Simsport Racing is the place to race, as the website says. Sorry, I just had to get that little strap line in there. But the community is a buzz. Things are moving forward. It's just going to be really, really enjoyable just to see how the acceptance and the welcoming side of people that are looking at sim racing as an alternative than spending bags and bags of money. I know, of course, that with simulators you can spend an absolute ton, but it's just really one of those things that it just shows that with everything that has happened in the last 4 and a bit months, how many people can sort of like say, yeah, actually, I can get myself a set of steering. I can get myself a set of pedals, a steering wheel. I can get myself a fairly decent gaming PC, get myself the software. Yeah, I might give this a go and give it a try, and give people that opportunity to enjoy racing. Competitive, firm but fair in terms of the stewardings with regards to Simsport Racing, because if you're competing in both GT3 and GT4, you get any penalty points. It doesn't matter which class you're in. If you're competing in both, it's still the same side of things, isn't it?
Yeah, basically, the community. I mean, it has to be said that at the beginning of this season, the GT3s, there was an influx of new members that wanted to have a go, and obviously with everything that's been going on in the world, there was a lot of people with some spare time, shall we say. There was a lot of guys that are brand new to sim racing. We didn't set any standards and say, no, you can't join us. Everybody's welcome. And you join our Facebook community, our Discord community, and everything's in there. We've got channels in Discord regarding tech. So if you're wanting to ask questions about tech and hardware, software, whatever, there's usually somebody that can answer questions and help you out. And it's good to see as this championship's progressing that on a weeknight, when we're not racing, the guys are practicing, but they're not just practicing on their own. They're jumping on the servers, they're jumping in Discord, they're chatting about setups, and everybody's helping each other. Yeah, it's a real community.
Pleased to be a part of it and being able to help you guys. And obviously, big thank you to Mike Yao and Simply Race for also broadcasting every single step of the way. Looks like we are on the formation lap, apparently. 19 degrees air temperature, 26 degrees track temperature. And it looks like your lineup will be as follows. James Hartnell in the 168 Ferrari 488 will have Chris Crossman in the number 3 Porsche alongside Adam Isalovic in 3rd place ahead of Regan Mitchell. So 4 different manufacturers in the top 4. Then we've got Dean Riley in the number 2 Ferrari, alongside will be Kieran Vidago in the number 4 Porsche 911 GT3. Chris Pinchbeck will start in 7th in the highest qualifying Audi, ahead of the Ferrari, the number 47 of Ranjith Kalsi. Then Rich Smith in the 76, Lexus and Mark Neuterlings in the Bentley Continental GT3 Treble 6 entry will start on the 5th row, completing the top 10. Richard Pixley, the best of the 2 Jaguars in the number 7, will start 11th alongside Aaron Walker in the 99 Audi. Lukas Kakos in the 13 Lamborghini and Stephen Haley in the 24 Audi round out row 7, ahead of Daniel Parker in the number 6 Jaguar, who rounds out the top 15. Jeffrey Wolf in the 86 Ferrari will have Gavin Utley in the 14 Bentley alongside. Then it's Dave Hedges in the 88 Audi, Ian Tamkin in the 82 McLaren, the 667 McLaren of Reese Wiggin, then Aaron Martin Pilkington in the 626 Aston Martin, Chris Bowman, Bliv AK and Paul Lindsay round out the 24 strong.
Just before we go green, Alex, just a quick one. We've got some people on Skater Jonas on YouTube. Cannot race today, but he's supporting Regan, so good luck, Regan. We've got Archie, the championship leader, obviously watching us, cheering on for Mr. Crossman. So welcome to the stream, guys. Hope you enjoy what you're going to see.
Yes, very, very shortly we will get things truly underway at Autodromo Nazionale di Monza, the Temple of Speed, with speeds reaching in excess of 260 kilometers an hour. It is all about who is braver than anybody else, because now this is going to be quite interesting. So they're now heading through into Parabolica. The red lights are ignited and they will go green the minute that we are given the signal by race control. Thoughts, Steve?
I'll let you know after turn 1.
Perfect. No, that's exactly what I wanted to hear, because now this is where the anticipation builds. The revs will start to build. They will start pressing down on the accelerators when we are ready to go racing. You can see that Crossman does not want to give James Hartnell an inch of trying to get away. As now we head towards the start-finish line for 90 minutes here of madness at Autodromo Nazionale di Monza. We go red. Do we go green? Yes, we do. And a great start there by Chris Crossman. Also, Kieran Vidago trying to get the slingshot early on Regan Mitchell and makes it through best for third place. Heading down to the Rettifilio chicane for the first time, but Regan Mitchell has got a car length ahead of the Porsche, who is ahead of the Ferrari. But Chris Crossman gets the lead going into turn 1 for the first time, as Chris Pinchbeck gets turned around through the first half of the chicane, and that has caused an absolute traffic jam. Cars trying to filter their way through, so Chris Pinchbeck floors the throttle. Aaron Martin Pilkington ends up 15th as a result of that. Now Chris Pinchbeck has got a lot of work to do. You did say, Steve, I'll wait until after turn 1. I think the Proudly curse has quite literally hit Chris Pinchbeck there, I'm afraid to say.
Oh, well, yeah, thank you very much for apportioning some blame there. I won't say I'll accept it, but yeah, I mean, Monza's one of those tracks. The guys are good racers, the guys are clean racers, but turn 1 is just so difficult to get that many cars through such a narrow turn. It's, there's usually contact and it leads to everybody stopping. But Chris Crossman, I think, is the surprise getting into the lead. Let's see if he can defend from James Hartnell. Regan Mitchell sat nicely in third, with Adam in fourth and Kieran Vidago in a very healthy 5th place. So these guys have got away cleanly, and let's just see what we can do, as James is tucking right in behind Chris Crossman there. I think he's going to try and maybe set himself up for a good run through the Parabolica onto the start-finish straight to make a move into turn 1 maybe. Yeah,
I've also seen that Ian Tamkin actually went straight on at the Seconda Variante, heading into the 2 Lesmos, and he was ahead of Aaron Martin Pilkington. Chris Pinchbeck now starting to recover from effectively 18th position as we go on board with James Hartnell going up the gears through 5th, redlining in the Ferrari, up to 6th gear. And you can, for those that can't really see at the bottom, and he's got the slipstream here, he's going to pull nearly 275 kilometers an hour before braking for the Rettifilio chicane here at turns 1 and 2. But already some drivers making some really, really good moves as a result of it. I've just seen that Rich Smith is now 7th behind Dean Riley, and Dan Parker now is the leading Jaguar up into 12th place, having started 15th in this particular occasion. So 1 hour, 27 minutes, 25 seconds on the clock. And then I look between first to effectively 5th place. They are covered by just over 3.5 seconds as both Hartnell and Crossman. Mitchell puts a wheel in the dirt, the left rear, out of Lesmo 1, and that allows Adam Isalovic in the 111 Ferrari to close. Right, let's have a look at the replay. So Neutelings is on the inside, and that's Ranjith Kelsey on the inside there, and it's the number 2 of Dean Riley that goes towards the inside. Pinchbeck, I think, just gets turned around there.
He got squeezed a little bit, I think, there, and it was, I think, car 47, Ranjith Kelsey, just it was on his inside. I'm not saying it was Ranjith's fault, but he was on the inside, and I just don't think there was room for the 3 cars.
Yeah, I think very much the case that that was not going to be easy for them to do that. And now, well, that's strange. I've seen the timer go to 0. We had about 1 hour and 27 minutes plus still to go. So, right, I'm wondering if the session has been restarted. That looks to be the case because the checkered flag has actually gone out. So, I'm not 100% sure.
No, we shall have to wait and see what happens.
Yeah.
Server admins will let us know.
Yeah,
but that was. Chris Pinchbeck suffered big time there. He got dropped down, but everybody else seemed to be pretty much where they should have been, and seemed to be sort of affected too much by that incident.
Yeah, yeah. So I just think at the end of it all, it's always going to be a case that as soon as they brought the checkered flag out, I saw the timer go to 0. I went, we've effectively stopped it, and we're going to have a full restart, which I'm not at all surprised about. I mean, we were just under 3 minutes in, and it's at the behest of the chief steward and the race director to make that call to see whether they can get cleanly through the Variante Retafilio. There you go. There's the full pronunciation of the first chicane there for you, Steve, just to keep you happy. But it always is a case. It's a very tough call sometimes because there'll be drivers that will go, I got sort of spun round on that, and it didn't really sort of work out to my favour. And there'll be other people that said, hang on, I just made it eight or 9 places, and now I'm starting back in P20. So it's always it's never an easy job for the chief steward and the race director in any way, shape or form to call the races they see fit, and then decide, well, we're gonna start it from scratch.
Yeah, I mean, I can see in Discord that there's 4 of the admin are just having a chat in there now, so they'll be sorting it out. I mean, to be fair, normally if you're restarting like that, it would just go straight back to the pitch. The timer wouldn't go to 0, so I wonder if there was a server issue, to be honest, rather than a restart. Because I don't think, personally, I don't think it warranted a restart, but, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see.
I'm sure we'll get we'll get clarification on that in due course. But I think at the end of the day, if it's a major server issue, we've got 24 cars going down into the Retafilio and then going through such an iconic circuit. But we were talking before we went on air, Steve, that it's one on my bucket list, but obviously with the GTs roaring around as opposed to Formula One.
Yeah, sorry. I mean, I was just, I'll be honest, I was just messaging one of the guys there trying to find out what was going on myself, but multitasking's not my strong point. But yeah, Dave Hedges has just kindly messaged me saying there is a technical issue, so they're having a look into it now, and hopefully we'll be up and running very soon.
Well, in the meantime, let's have a look ahead to a couple of rounds. Let's have a look ahead to the double rounds, the 2 rounds in Belgium, Zolder and the iconic Spa-Francorchamps.
saw you coming until you turned me around. Used to think I was nothing, but look at this love we found. So give me your hand like you took mine. No, I don't ever wanna see you cry. Oh, way up, no more tears. Oh, way up, no more tears. Take that chance, we'll be fine. No, I don't ever wanna see you cry. Oh, way up, no more tears. Oh, way up.
I found you in my arms when I got you in my mind like symphony. I wanna play you like violin, love. Then I'm a dreamer, and I'm all alone. I found you in my arms when I got you in my mind like symphony. I wanna play you like violin, love. Then I'm a dreamer, and I'm all alone.
Right, we've got down to the we've had Inspector Proudly on the case. Steve, what was the reason for our impromptu checkered flag and everyone being dumped back in the pits?
Well, we have had a report from the guys that basically the system seemed to give out a lot of penalties for that first lap for whatever reason, and it just basically crashed the timings, put the timing as we all saw to zero, and finished the session, dumped everybody back to the pits. So the guys are currently creating an entry list based on qualifying, which they'll have to do manually, so that we don't have to run another qualifying session and nobody loses out on the qualifying times. And then they're gonna, once they've got that done, which will be a couple of minutes, they're gonna restart the server and jump straight into the race. So the one very, very lucky person from all that is Mr. Pinchbeck, who gets his get out of jail free card, and just as well as his mum Jean Pinchbeck is watching, and she says, "Come on, Pinchers." Well, that wasn't what you wanted to see in the first corner, was it, Jean? But he's got a get out of jail card, and he's going to be having another go at it.
Well, at least this time, if he's on the Monopoly board, he can go past Go and collect £200. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, we've also got Amy Walker, Aaron's wife, on there saying, "Let's go, Aaron Walker." So as ever, Amy's always on here. Jean's a regular as well. We're thanking everybody, everyone who joins our streams. It's fantastic. And if you're liking what you're seeing, please give it a thumbs up, share it. Let's get as many viewers on as we can as the weeks go by. We are growing it, but we need your help to do that. So if you are enjoying it, please share the streams for us, please.
Yeah, and also don't forget, apart from giving it a thumbs up, hitting the notification bell, hit the subscribe button whilst you're at it. You might be watching on Simply Race YouTube and Twitch channels, the Let's Race Facebook page, the Virtual Reality Racing Club, Facebook, Twitch and YouTube streams, Thrill Junkies as well, Downforce Racing on Facebook, amongst others, including the Simsport Facebook group itself. So really, really good to hear all these shout-outs from everyone and everyone. It's a real pleasure to be a part of the community, in some respects, as the official commentator for it. And It's just like the amount of banter that I see. Like I'll see messages at silly o'clock in the morning. Like, say, for example, Mark Neuterling's, obviously with the time differences and everything, you have to factor that in as well with Discord. But everyone just has a laugh and a giggle at everyone else's expense, which is really, really good to see.
Yeah, everybody takes it on the chin. They know that everybody knows what we're like, and as I said earlier on, as the championship progresses and the weeks pass by, all the new guys are just fitting right in, and they're giving as good as they're getting now. Just a quick one on YouTube as well. One of your supporters, Alex, and Edward Porter, says, "Hello, Alex. How are you, mate?"
Good evening, Mr. Porter. Hope you're keeping well, buddy. Yes, all good. All good. Ready for 90 minutes of madness at Monza. Well, let's have a look before we get things underway here at Monza. Let's have a look at what you can expect at our charity event on October 3rd at the legendary Nurburgring. And that will provide one hell of a 12-hour charity event on October 3rd. And funnily enough, when I head to Germany next week, I will be effectively 470 kilometers east of that location, just in the Saxony region of Germany. But Steve, the Nurburgring, we've had that. That was our season opener, let's not forget, on season 3 for GT3. And to have it as a 12-hour event, that's really going to test everybody, because the GP loop isn't easy there, is it?
It isn't, no, and let's not forget, yes, it's a 12-hour race, but the times multiplier will be on 2, so it will replicate a full 24-hour cycle, so we are going to have a good chunk of night racing there. The weather will be set to pretty much what it is now, with the chances of rain, so I do expect in that length of time, 12 hours, we will get at least some showers, if not some proper rain. So there could be varying conditions, varying track temperatures, and obviously we've got the day-night cycle and sunset-sunrise issue, because obviously the sun in your eyes is a big issue in some parts of the track as well. So it's going to really test the guys' concentration levels and focus because I mean, obviously, if you've got a team of two, you're going to be doing an awful lot of driving. Stints will probably be split between you, probably approximately about an hour apiece, I think they're going to be. But it's still, to have an hour off and then jump straight back in the seat and straight back onto the track is not easy. The teams with 3 and 4 drivers, then obviously that becomes even harder because you're going to have probably 3 hours off before you jump back in the seat again. So it's always good to have a couple of laps under your belt of practice, qualifying, whatever, before you start the race. So to go from 2 or 3 hours off to back in, that's going to add to it as well. So it's not going to be easy.
Indeed. The Eifel region's known for its inclemental weather conditions. If anyone might remember the 24 hours of the Nurburgring a couple of years ago when hail came in quite literally and swamped the track. I think I've never seen that in a 24-hour endurance race, and it brought out one of the most cacophonic carnivals of carnage in the fact that people were sliding off like a good one. I know friends who were actually there that particular weekend. They were wearing shirts and t-shirts and shorts, and they said that when you see the clouds ahead, there's bad weather coming in. If there's clouds already there, there is bad weather there already. And it was already amplified. And I remember seeing the amount of cars that just literally were sliding off the circuit, the intensity of the hail. I just hope for everyone's sake at the 12-hour event that hail is not on the weather parameters.
Yeah, we do. We are conservative with the weather settings. It has to be said. With the simulator, you can set up the percentage chances of rain, and storm conditions is not selected. So it's pretty much rain or damp to dry. The biggest thing I think for the guys will be the variation in temperatures, because obviously as the day turns to night, the track will start to get cooler, and then obviously the opposite as the sun comes up. So that affects your track. The track temp obviously affects the tyre pressures, and tyre pressures obviously affect the handling. So when they're coming into the pit stops, they're going to have to be adjusting tyre pressures for conditions. So there's lots to think about for the guys, and the 12 hours, as I say, GT3 and GT4 cars on the track, so obviously a speed differential, and once they start getting spread out a little bit, they'll be catching different cars at a different rate of knots, and lots of things to take into consideration, and very high levels of concentration for the full 12 hours will be required. And that's the same for me, because I am actually planning on trying to commentate for the full 12 hours if I can.
You're a brave individual, very brave, I must say. Yeah, don't start just because you started with me doesn't mean it's going to be easy doing 12 hours. I've done a 24-hour race before, and even with 2 hours, it's a struggle.
Yeah, well, I mean, to be honest, that's the plan. We'll see how many commentators jump on board. Some of the drivers are going to, we're sort of planning that some of the drivers, when they're not driving, are going to jump in and have a good long chat about how the race is going and have a go at commentating with us. Because at the end of the day, it's a fun event, it's a charity event. So, the more people we can get involved in maybe doing things that they don't normally do, all the better, and a bit more fun for everybody. So, yeah, we'll see what happens.
Just got a word in my ear from the broadcast director talking about biscuits. Well, you can feel it. Oh my goodness me! No.
I wish our streamers could hear the director right now, because you'd all be very worried for his mental state. To be fair, he's talking about licorice and biscuits.
Well, old sweets was the terminology he used. All I'm going to say is sherbet dib-dabs on that one. But we are on our second time of trying to get the race underway. So James Hartnell and Chris Crossman will again line up on the front row. Adam Isolovic and Regan Mitchell, row 2. Then it is Dean Riley and Kieran Vidago, row 3. Chris Pinchbeck and Ranjiv Kalsi, row 4. Rich Smith and Mark Neutelings round out the top 10. Ahead of Richard Pixley, Aaron Walker, Lukas Kakos, Stephen Haley, Daniel Parker, Jeffrey Wolf, no relation to Toto, I think, Gavin Utley in 17th, ahead of Dave Hedges all the way down in 18th, with Ian Tamkin and Reese Wiggin, a pair of 720 SGT3s rounding out the top 20. Aaron Martin Pilkington, Chris Bowman, Bliv AK, and Paul Lindsay rounding out the 24 strong. reset to 1 hour and 30 minutes. So let's see what happens as the madness will finally descend, as will the red mist here at Autodromo Nazionale di Monza. And I'm not going to ask you about your thoughts, Steve, because you said, I remember what was said last time, I'll wait until turn one. I'm going to wait until the end of lap one on this particular occasion, because we all saw what happened last time out. But yes, Chris Pinchbeck has got the biggest get out of jail free card I've ever seen in a sim race.
Yeah,
that's saying something.
As my old dad used to say to me, best to say now, lad, best to say now. So I won't say anything.
Good man. That's what we like to hear. So they will now head to the Parabolica. So air temperature 19 degrees, track temperature 26 as well. We also have to, obviously, just by the livery on Ian Tamkin's car, I must be completely honest. Congratulations to the world's fastest gamer's very own James Baldwin for taking a first pole position, and then also got two top 10 finishes at Donington Park this past weekend. So well done, chap. All the very best for your future endeavours in the real life world of racing, as the drivers now make their way around Curva Parabolica for the second restart here at Monza. The Temple of Speed awaits a cacophony of noise from the V8 powered engines here in GT3 machinery. Some drivers starting to settle themselves down as we now head towards the start finish line once again. Ladies and gentlemen, we go. Lights from red to green. We are off and away, and again another great start. And look at how much of a drag Chris Crossman has got on James Hartnell going into turn one. But this time, Regan Mitchell not easily swayed from going up the inside into the middle. A little bit easier now as Lukas Kakos looks to have made up a couple of places heading into the Variante del Retafirio. A lot cleaner this time as Mitchell and Isailovic side by side coming out of the Variante Retafirio through into Cover Grande, as there is one of the Jaguars, that's Dan Parker, going round the outside. Can you really seriously believe that, of Stephen Haley? Has he got the move done? Oh my God, that's awesome. And and Isailovic has been turned around, and Vidago is pointing the wrong way, and everyone, including Rich Smith. Oh, I did say wait until the end of lap one, and we got to the Seconda Variante, and just all hell broke loose. And Adam Isailovic, he was in P3, and I'm wondering if there was a slight incident maybe between him and possibly Regan Mitchell. Not too sure, because that came at the tail end of that particular incident, as Aaron Walker now has got some work to do, but he's got up into 7th position. But the thing is here, Steve, the Audis will be good in the slipstream, because right ahead of him, he's got the 6th-placed Audi of the 43 of Chris Pinchbeck. So when they start working together, the drivers will possibly have that sort of, gentleman's agreement, let's say.
Well, I don't mean this to sound like it's probably going to do, but Chris won't work with Aaron. Chris is out there to get positions, and he's going to keep Aaron behind him if he can. It's a real racer's instinct. He's not his teammate. He doesn't owe him anything as such. They are racing for position, so he's just going to keep battling and defend. And I believe Aaron will try and push to get past him. Two very, very good races, but let's just see how it transpires as we see Crossman and James side by side almost through the chicane there, and Chris has managed to get the drag back out and retain the lead. That was close, but very, very clean driving, and congratulations to everyone on the first lap T1. Just a little bit unfortunate to see what happened in T2, and I'll be interested to watch the replay on that.
Yep, as we've got 3 drivers in the pits. Oh, Rich Smith, Dave Hedges and Jeffrey Wolf all in the pits. That's probably for damage. There's more than that. Kieran Vidago and Daniel Parker also in the pits. But the thing is that even though we've had that tumultuous incident on the approach into the Seconda Variante, even though they might be pitting now to repair this damage, they could still come back fighting because it's only one mandatory pit stop where they have to change the tyres. But then it's also dependent on if they put a full fuel load on, the car's going to be slower for that initial phase until the fuel burn starts assisting the performance of the vehicles. But you can see that Crossman and Hartnell, they're lapping pretty within sort of literally tenths of each other. As now Hartnell definitely closing on the back bumper. He's going towards the outside through into Parabolica, trying to get the cut back here, I think, in the Ferrari. And he gets right up the back bumper. Now let's have a look at the replay. Now, right, okay. Now it's Kieran Vidago that slammed into the side of Adam Isalovic. So Regan Mitchell. Oh, and then in the back part of that, I saw Rich Smith literally hop over the curves and smack the back. I think that was Chris Pinchbeck. Yeah, and you can just see that everyone's tripping all over each other. And Adam Isalovic was the biggest. That we've got. Hang on a second. We've now got 7 cars in the pit. So Jeffrey Wolf, Daniel Parker, Dave Hedges. Well, it looks like Wolf has made they've effectively shown as a mandatory stop. But Wolf showing in the pits. Parker, Vidago, Bowman, Smith, Hedges, and Lindsay. That is nigh on a quarter of the field that has had to make an early pit stop due to that carambolage at that particular chicane that the top 3 has just come through.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, it just depends how much damage they've picked up and what state the car's into, how long the pit stop will be. And in fact, it may be that, if they've escaped back to the pits, as it were, because the car wasn't drivable, it may be that they've retired the car. We'll see. But see, Dave Hedges has come out. So that was just an incredibly long pit stop for Dave, which means he'll have had a lot of damage. So we've seen another replay, some cars going off there.
Oh! And one of them was Dave Hedges, and that's the 21 of Paul Lindsay. Hedges not really being in full control of the car, but obviously with the damage, that's going to the back end's going to start snaking. Then the 21 gets unsighted, has got nowhere to go, and all of a sudden, bang, straight into the left-hand side barrier. It's now the 2 leaders with just over 5 minutes completed, 1 hour, 24 minutes and 38 seconds still to go here at Monza, as now Hartnell is not letting Crossman breathe. The gap last time around was about 1/10 of a second as they're about to cross the start-finish line. Now on to lap number 4.
Regan Mitchell closing in as well as Hartnell's going for a dive down the outside. Chris is defending in the inside. Regan's just hanging in there for the slipstream. It's going to be who's going to be the bravest on the brakes. Side by side. Awesome.
Oh, Hartnell's made it through. That's brilliant. That's a textbook move there by the 168 from Tempesta Racing. But now Chris Crossman trying to launch a counter-offensive going towards the outside of Curva Grande. This is very, very tricky. 5th gear, full revs, full commitment, as they're now heading up to the it's known in some respects the Seconda Variante, but it's also known as the Variante della Roggia. More Italian pronunciation to keep my friend Mr. Proudly very happy here this evening. But you can just see that the Porsche's really, Chris was actually the winner from round 1 at the Nurburgring, but he's been on the back foot, and now here is his opportunity to sort of start getting back into the thick of things. And just looking back at the points, I mean, he's 3rd coming into this. He's going to have a clear advantage over Stephen Haley, and he's going to close in hand over fist with Archie Clifford Roberts, who has decided not to partake in this, and use this as a drop round, I believe. So in many respects, Chris Crossman has got nothing to lose and everything to gain this evening.
Yeah, interestingly, Dean Riley in 4th place has just done the fastest lap of 48.5. So he's certainly a man on the move, and Lucas Kakos in the Lamborghini behind with a 48.6, I believe.
So when you look at it, Chris Crossman, if he gets the win after 90 minutes, that's 75 points. And I just sort of think, Hartnell takes a point for... Oh, now that's one way to blast your way past, but the Porsche's looking incredibly slow. Crossman, now, is that drama? Oh, Pinchbeck has to avoid and goes off the track. Oh, what's happened with Chris Crossman? Has he had a technical problem on his
That-
side?
That certainly looks like a controller issue. He's still connected to the server, so you would say he's having some sort of hardware issue with pedals or wheel or something. Because obviously he would have normally would have pulled off the track if he was able to do so. So we'll have to wait and see there. But obviously Chris very, very unlucky there. Let's just see how that pans out for him.
Right, just seen in the... right, okay, let's just have a look here. So he slows. Yeah, Regan Mitchell just blasted past Chris Crossman like it was nothing. Okay, so the car is slowing. And then, at a huge rate of knots, okay, Dean Riley goes past. Here, Chris Pinchbeck goes spinning around. He's got nowhere to go. Oh my goodness, Chris Pinchbeck, his get-out-of-jail-free card turns out to be even worse than the first time of asking. I've also just seen in the Discord chat that Paul Lindsay wasn't able to move his car in the end, so he has officially retired from the race. That's a real shame for the 21 McLaren. I was really looking forward to seeing if he could make some moves up the order. But James Hartnell leading the way. Regan Mitchell now chasing him down in the 69 Mercedes AMG GT3.
Yeah, and I mean, if Chris didn't had any luck, he's just had nothing but bad luck tonight. He's really, really unlucky. But Aaron Walker, he's up into 5th place now. That's fantastic. People like Reese Wiggins still in 7th place in the McLaren. Absolutely fantastic drive from Reese to keep it there. I mean, see Chris Pinchbeck still circulating in 8th, according to the timing screens. But I hate to think how much damage he's got and what sort of pit repairs and pit time he's going to have. Well,
here's Lukasz Kakos. I did say that there could be a stealthy Raging Bull waiting in the wings, and the number 13 Barwell Motorsport Lamborghini Huracan GT3 is making hay and looking to close up on Dean Riley. And between the pair of them, Riley was quicker last time around by about 0.174 of a second. But Kakos looks to be a little bit more measured on the brakes, using Riley as a yardstick effectively. So let's have a look at this replay. Oh, Chris Pinchbeck, and also that was the 99. That was Aaron Walker. Just got away with that one, didn't he?
Yeah, that was he was so lucky not to get more damage, but like I said, just really, really unlucky that Chris was Mr. Crossman had his issue, whatever it was that stopped him in the middle of the track there, and the closing speed would have been absolutely phenomenal for Chris Pinchbeck. So he wouldn't have, just wouldn't have anticipated a car going that slowly at that point.
Especially when they're pushing nearly 268, well, over 270 kilometres an hour going through into the Rettifilio. They were accelerating, and both Pinchbeck and Crossman are in the pits. Kieran Vidago still in the pits, so I think that Porsche has got an insurmountable amount of damage. 10 minutes in, I think the words "my eyes are not deceiving me" sound pretty good round about now.
Yeah, James Hartnell's doing a fantastic job. I mean, just how different does the top 6 look? I mean, James Hartnell, Regan Mitchell, Dean Riley, Lucas Kakos, Aaron Walker, Mark Neutlings, Reese Wiggins, Pilkington up into 8th. I was hoping he was going to have a better race than normal. Ranjiv Kelsey in 9th. Gavin Utley up to 10th, our GT4 winner at Kyalami, up in 10th place, so having a good race. Adam in 11th place. He's damage limitation after being spun.
Right, okay, here's Adam Isalovic, and here's the number 7. Oh my goodness, that was the number 7 Jaguar of Richard Pixley. That you could see that the back end was snaking and the rear end was about to break traction. They came through the Ascari chicane, and Isalovic was lucky that lightning did not strike twice again, because he's recovered in the 111 Ferrari up to 11th position. Ranjiv Kelsey rounding out the top 9 places. But yeah, I mean, Gavin Utley up to 10th. I mean, I'm just having a look that Chris Crossman and Chris Pinchbeck are back out in circulation, 15th and 17th respectively. But yeah, I think really with the amount of time that Kieran Vidago has been in the pits, that looks to be pretty much game over, unfortunately, for the number 4 911 Porsche.
Yeah, I mean, I would expect he's retired that car now. Which, I mean, Crossman, he's got going again, whatever the issue was, as he's there. He's a lap down, but obviously he's cleared his mandatory stop. That's not to say he's going to have to stop again for fuel at least. He won't make an hour and 20 minutes on a full tank unless he does some serious fuel saving at the expense of some lap time, which I don't think he'll do. He'll just do a splash and dash.
Yep, so we go on board with Aaron Martin Pilkington, who has ahead, and I think this is the highest position so far this season for Rhys Wiggin in the 667 Optimum Motorsport McLaren 720 SGT3. Rhys Wiggin was actually towards the bottom part of the top 20, as now Martin Pilkington will come out of the toe into the Rettifilio chicane, and Neutling's just up ahead. Nice move by the Aston Martin up the inside very cleanly, as Ranjiv Kalsi also closes. And then we've got a second Bentley, and that is the M Sport entry of Gavin Utley, now up into the top 10 positions. And the Bentleys, even though they are a big car, Steve, they seem to go pretty well around Monza with the amount of top end that they've got.
Yeah, they've got top end, and they're surprisingly good on fuel, so they usually get away with carrying a little bit less fuel than some of the other cars. So they make up for the difference in weight, shall we say, of the size of the car for the amount of fuel they have to carry. And like you say, they're not slow. They've got a lot of top speed, and they handle surprisingly well. That they are a good all-round car. And in the hands of Gavin, doing very, very well in 10th. I expect him to make a few more positions up before the end of the race. Looking at the top 10, I think he'll be good for getting a couple more places up.
Yes, indeed. So they come under the bridge, heading into the Variante Ascari. As now Martin Pilkington is just 6.5 tenths of a second behind Mark Neutelings. Looks to be a little bit closer, as the Bentley and the Aston Martin are now nigh on line astern. It's about a car length and a half between the pair, just behind Rhys Wiggin being pressurised by Ranjiv Kalsi as they head into Parabolica. A bit of a tighter line taking on the entry by Mark Neutelings, as he now has Martin Pilkington quite considerably in the tow. And now the Aston Martin gets the run out of the final corner, and this is where the momentum starts to go in favour of the car behind. Goes to the left, Neutelings tries to close, Martin Pilkington to the right, brakes late as much as he can, going up into the Rettifilio chicane, and makes the move up into 6th position past the Bentley.
Yeah, that's good driving, 2 for 2. Very good driving from Pilkington there to take 2 spots in the same corner, 2 consecutive laps. So he's got some clean track now. He'll be looking to make his way up to Walker, albeit he's a fair way back. He's got a big about 9 seconds to make up. So let's get his head down and crack on with it.
Okay,
Ranjiv Kalsi still trying to pressurise Rhys Wiggins.
Yeah, so that's very much the case, as now you can just see how hard they're pushing through the 2 Lesmos, as we now go on board with Lukas Kakos, who is closing up. Well, he's literally nigh on breathing in the exhaust fumes from the back of that number 2 Ferrari 488 GT3. So they've come through the Variante Ascari. Up towards the Parabolica curve they come, and it's quite nice because you see the pure thoroughbred in Ferrari, and then you see the Lamborghini, the young upstarts, because effectively, for those that don't remember the story about how Lamborghini was born, it used to be a manufacturer of tractors, but then Ferruccio Lamborghini went to buy a Ferrari, and it didn't really sort of scream to him what he wanted, and then went out on his own, and here they are now. So it's really good to see these 2 prestigious luxury Italian marques. Ranjiv Kalsi going side by side, heading into the Variante Rettifilio with Rhys Wiggin. Wiggin looking to be slightly ahead at the moment, or is he? Will the number 47 Ferrari go up the inside? That's very, very close. They nearly bashed door panels, but Rhys Wiggin decides that discretion is the better part of valour coming out of the second part of it. And I've just seen that Adam Isailovic has got past Gavin Utley for 10th place through the very same chicane. So some great battling up and down the order here at Monza.
Yeah, and the lads are keeping it nice and clean, showing each other a little bit of respect, and if the door's forced open, then they're not shutting it unnecessarily at the risk of taking each other out. It's always good to see. And as I said earlier, that's the community, the respect's built up over time. And
Oh, sorry to cut across you there, but there was a car that went straight on, and that was Pixley in the Jaguar that's just lost out to Ian Tamkin. There's more dust being kicked up. I think that was Ranjiv Kalsi going through the second of the two Lesmos. And Bliv AK in the Nissan GT3 Nismo is now up into 12th position. So that Nissan has really come alive in this race. And I'm just looking at the lap times. So 1 minute 49.758. There's Gavin Utley. He has been passed by Adam Isalovic, but will start to chase the Ferrari driver down. And everyone is making improvements. I think the best lap of the race so far is from our pole sitter, James Hartnell, so who already has a point in the bag for pole position and holds on to the point for fastest lap and could get a maximum score of 77 points if things keep on going his way. And James Hartnell at the moment is on 149 points. So I'm just going to do a quick calculation. That will put him on 226. So that could put him well up into the top 5 by my estimation if things keep on going his way. And as he's got a gap over Regan Mitchell of nearly 4 seconds. So, now that was Rhys Wiggin, I think, that went bouncing over the curbs through the second of the part of the Rettifilio, and now has Isailovic breathing down his back bumper. And then also look at how close Gavin Utley is. 225 kilometers an hour, full throttle, pedal to the metal in 5th gear. God, that's commitment at its finest there, Steve.
Yeah, it's Gavin's really putting the pressure on Adam at the moment, and obviously Adam on Rhys, so it's always good to see. And you can just see the snake of cars in the background as well. Like you said earlier, some very, very good close racing, and it looks like Gav's just dropping off a little bit. He's not being able to stick as close as he would like to through the corners. I think it's a bit of straight line speed and slipstream that's keeping him in touch with those two. But Adam's certainly going to be looking to put a move on the car in front. I would say on the start-finish straight next lap.
Oh, as Ranjiv Kalsi manages to sweep around the outside of Martin Neuslings there through the Variante Ascari. So Neuslings was to the inside. Kalsi just went, I'm going to send it, and did a Daniel Ricciardo halfway through the chicane. That was very, very brave, and it looks like he kept 2 wheels on the asphalt as planned, as Adam Isalovic looking up the inside of Rhys Wiggin now for 9th place. So the Ferrari now making some sort of a comeback as we're fast approaching. Well, we've just completed just over 20.5 minutes of this race. 1 hour, 9 minutes and 30 seconds still to go here at Monza. We did say this was going to be 90 minutes of madness. We've already had just over 20, Steve. I cannot believe that after, obviously the first issue with the... now Rhys Wiggin... Now, I'm sorry. That is definitely a case of you need to... That was advantage by shortcutting. And very good sportsmanship there by Rhys Wiggin saying, sorry, Adam, my bad. I didn't really mean to do that. I think he just did the Alex Verts and ran out of talent going into the braking zone into the chicane.
Yeah, I think it was a case of he was looking in his mirror at a big Bentley and looking across at Adam in the Ferrari and thought, well, where do I go here? And just braked as late as he could, but just obviously slightly too late and had to sensibly take the escape road, because if he'd have tried to turn it in, he could have potentially spun and caused an incident. So he probably did the right thing in the situation.
Yep, so he now sits in 10th position at the minute. As now there looks to be an Audi trying to get past the number 14 Bentley. Now I'm just seeing, that can't be Steve Haley, can it? I'm just sort of thinking, because unless that's a back marker, that is Stephen Haley, who's showing in 15th. So obviously being a lap down, Haley was one of the cars that was affected. Oh, bit of a run wide there coming through the exit of the Ascari chicane from Gavin Utley. That's going to give Steve an opportunity to unlap himself, because he's definitely in the slipstream of that Bentley. But whilst this is all happening here, Steve, Bliv AK and Pixley are also closing on the back bumper of the Bentley in the meantime. That's for position.
Yeah, I was just noticing that myself, and Bliv's done really well. It's the first season he's picked the Nissan, so he's slowly but surely getting to grips with it, and his times are improving. So yeah, he's having a good show tonight in 12th place, and race is a long way from finished yet. Just looking at James Hartnell.
Oh my goodness, Bliv AK up the inside of Stephen Haley and actually gets past Richard Pixley. I don't know how you threaded the eye of the needle, Mr. 747, but I doff my cap to thee. That was brilliantly timed. That's the first great move of the evening so far.
That was certainly take your breath away. Took my breath away.
It took your breath away and mine at the same moment, and I still had to keep on speaking. That's the biggest thing from my perspective. But we have, that's the first really, really brazen move of the evening. We still have 66 plus minutes of this race still to go. Anything is possible here at Monza, and Bliv AK, right, let's just have a look. Oh, he even gives a bit of a glance to the right front wing of Stephen Haley, who gets clattered into by Richard Pixley a little bit there. And then Chris Pinchbeck has got past as a direct result. So Pinchbeck went, that's great. I've made up a position. I might be a couple of laps down, but at least I've got past Steve Haley.
Yeah, Steve Haley battling for the championship, and he's really getting beaten up in this race. I think it might be one he wants to forget, to be honest. But yeah, like you say, Chris Pinchbeck taking advantage, because let's not forget these guys score points down to 20th place, so they're still fighting for championship points, and at the end of the season, everyone could count.
Yes, I wholeheartedly concur that sentiment there, as we're on board with Richard Pixley, as now Chris Pinchbeck trying to go up the inside of the Jaguar. It's really funny that, like say with regards to manufacturer pronunciations, especially when you go to, and this is not a dig at anybody, when the Americans call it a Jaguar, it's just really, really strange how there's been so much, like say when people ask me about names and pronunciations, especially with the German side of things. Oh, Chris Pinchbeck goes a bit... I think he goes a bit grass-hopping there with the back axle of that Audi, and Steve Haley's trying to go around the outside of him through Curva Grande. But then, like say the pronunciations like Ferrari, Lamborghini, Porsche. When I hear Porsche, I think a little bit of the Germanic side of me dies inside. But that's just a personal observation. But I think at the end of the day, when you hear all these different names being pronounced, and then you see all these videos online on YouTube saying, this is how you say the names properly, and especially with the German names as well. I say Volkswagen, Audi, Porsche. It was quite funny when bloke said, the bloke on this video went, no, this is not how you say it. This is how you say it. Just get it right. And I was just like thinking, oh, God, really? You had to go that far with it? But to see so many great brands here in GT3 and here at SSR, Steve, just to see the great battling up and down the field. But I think that Bliv AK has just pulled out, I think, one of the moves, if not the move so far, of season 3, with that cheeky little move up the inside through the Retaviglio chicane there.
That was fantastic instinctive remove, was that? It just took the position, and it was relatively clean. There was the slightest of contacts, but nobody really suffered from it. It was just absolutely fantastic. Just on your pronunciations, talking about it, all I will say is I'm from Yorkshire, so I'm not saying any more than that, lad. I've got my own way of pronouncing things, and that's that.
Hey, well, to each their own, and I'm not even going to try and attempt a Yorkshire accent because I'll probably fail. But I think you can just see how scuffed up this is how realistic Assetto Corsa Competizione is. A great job by Kuno Simulazioni for the job that they've done. The left-hand side sill of Richard Pixley's Emil Frey Jaguar GT3 car has got so many scuffs on it. I think that's more than just, when someone goes, yeah, that'll just buff out. It's like, I think we need to give you an estimate for that one, sir. That won't be cheap.
Yeah, and thanks to Mike, who's working the cameras tonight. He's giving us some fantastic angles because these are great. As we can see, the Audi's sort of closing up on the Jaguar under brakes, but the Jaguar's just got such long legs. And of course, technically these guys, I believe, are a lap down still. So they're trying to unlap themselves. It's still not for position. So the driver in front's not always that keen to let them past. He wouldn't be if it was for position.
Yeah, especially with the Battle of Ingolstadt going on behind the Jaguar at the minute, as Haley runs a bit wide coming out of the Variante Ascari. So we've got... can you believe this, though, Steve? We are close to finishing the first third of this race here at Monza. It's been absolutely dynamite, as Adam Isalovic in the T2 Motorsports Ferrari 111 closing on Mark Neutling's. Can you believe that nearly half an hour has already gone?
Yeah, it's just been action-packed, hasn't it? Obviously, with the false start that we had and a bit of a delay, the time has really gone quick as Adam shows the nose and he's pointing it into the inside. But no, Mark had the measure of him on the brakes there and just defended well. It's all about the exit speed now, but Adam's going to tuck him behind again. Yeah, I mean, it's flying by. The boys are giving us some close racing. Yeah, we've had a couple of incidents, but difficult. We knew that was going to happen because the grid was so mixed up with the hot lap times. But hot lapping's totally different to race time. So some of the lads that the Audi lads that didn't have the speed in the race potentially have got the racecraft to try and to fight their way through, but they've just got involved in a few incidents.
But the Audi that's leading the way is Aaron Walker, and Walker now, Steve, is 3.571 seconds behind Lukas Kakos. And if Aaron takes 5th place, that will give him 48 points. And at the moment, Aaron is currently on 155. So, I think, as you say, Aaron Walker has the racecraft to move up the field.
I won't say he'll be smiling, but Archie will be breathing a sigh of relief because obviously Stephen Haley, Chris Crossman, the guys closest to him, are a fair way down the field and a couple of laps behind. So it's, if Aaron Walker's the highest finisher of the championship runners, Archie's lead's safe.
It might. You say that now, but I'm going to throw a curveball here. Okay, so. Stephen Haley currently 16th. That will net him 15 points, and that will put him on 196. Chris Crossman, 14th position. That will net him 21 points and put him on 201. Then you look at Aaron Walker, 48 points, and that will put him on 203. Then you go down to Dave Hedges. Dave is currently 19th, so unfortunately that would put him on 158, as that would just be 6 points. But then you look at the curveball that I'm about to throw, because if he gets the fastest lap, he's taking pole position and takes the race win, James Hartnell gets to within 26 points on 226. He's on 149 at the moment, but if he gets to Grand Chelem, he'll let's look at it this way. Archie Clifford Roberts' lead coming into this race was 71 points. And when you look at it, he'll basically have just over 36% of that, 36.6% of a margin as opposed to what he had coming into this race. So James Hartnell, if he keeps, dots the T's, crosses the T's, dots the I's, and has a flawless performance, he will be within striking distance at the very next round.
Yeah, the championship's a long way from over, so obviously, battling for all the points is what it's all about. And obviously, the drivers all dropped their worst scoring round, so by not attending, this will be Archie's dropped round. But I'm just trying to remember, and it's very unprofessional of me that I can't, but there is a attendance bonus at the end of the season, and I think it's 15 points. For anyone who attends every single race, they'll drop their lowest scoring round, but they will gain 15 points for attending every race, starting and finishing every race.
That's actually quite a nice little caveat there when you think about it, as Mark Neutling's trying to go up the inside of Ranjith Kelsey, but Kelsey keeps it pinned to the outside of the Rettifilio through into the second half of it, and Oh, that's very, very close indeed. Because just behind, they've got the 667 Optimum Motorsport McLaren 720 SGT3 of Reese Wiggin. Not too far behind as they're going to head up towards the Variante della Roggia. Oh, contact there between Calci and Neutelings. Neutelings goes round the number 47 Ferrari up towards the first of the two Lesmos. And this is going to give Calci an opportunity to go up the inside of the Bentley. Coming into this scrap now, look at how close it is truncating. Because you've got Utley now in there. Wiggins trying to go up the inside of Neutelings through the second Lesmo. Utley going around the outside, can't get through. Then you got Bliv AK, who's past Richard Pixley. Well, that has really sort of amped up the temperature, let alone it being 24 degrees Celsius on the track here at Monza.
Yeah, everybody pushing, and obviously Chris Crossman's on the tail of that, I believe, as well. Fighting his way back as Bliv runs really wide there.
Yeah,
he's going to lose some speed into the run down to the Parabolica now, so it'll be interesting to see if anyone gets alongside, and indeed they do. Richard Pixley, albeit round the outside, but he's got the move done. Bliv's going to come back at him under the brakes.
Oh, that's close. Oh, that's close. Oh, that spatial awareness is it's nearly a synchronised line astern for 3 wide coming out of the final corner at Parabolica. And now you can see that Bliv AK in the 747 Nissan, it's the GT Sport Motor Team RJN entry. Now obviously RJN running with Team Rocket in British GT with James Baldwin under the, if you ever remember the name Team Rocket, and obviously the colours of the McLaren that's being run by one of the McLarens at the moment, Ian Tamkin in the 82. Obviously, that signifies Jenson Button these days. So 50, and there it is. There is the car itself with the world's fastest Game of 2 logo on it. Ian Tamkin running in 21st position. Oh, who's got off into the barriers? That is Gavin Utley. Oh no, that was drama for the Bentley Continental GT, the number 14.
And that was Richard Pixley, I believe, as well.
So that means that Bliv AK is 1 position away for getting into the top 10. Oh, drama with 55.5 minutes still to go. So that is going to drop those two. Let's have a look at the replay. They've come out towards, out of Curva Grande. Pixley's, he's gone round towards the outside coming out of Curva Grande. And the right front wing has clipped the left rear corner of the Bentley and sent it spinning into the barriers of the Variante della Roggia. Oh, dramas afoot. And we are not even at the halfway point. 55 minutes dead on the clock to go, as Bliv AK has got to find 2 seconds in the pocket to try and catch up with the 667 of Reese Wiggin in the McLaren 720 SGT3.
Yeah, I don't think that was the birthday weekend that Gavin Utley was expecting. Happy birthday, Gav. I'm not quite sure whether that was his late move across that caused that, but we'll obviously, the stewards will look into all incidents and report back.
Well, I think at the end of the day, Gavin Utley had the racing line. Let's have a look at the replay here. So Utley, right, okay. Utley's gone to defend, hasn't he?
Yeah.
And Pixley's already tried to sort of move across to try and sort of, and they're both now in the pits. So are they both? Let's see if that's going to cause a change as a result of that. So I'm just keeping an eye on the chatter. Right, okay, let's have a look. Another angle here as Pixley closes. Yeah, he's gone to turn it. He's gone to get the inside line. Utley's started to come across, but he's done it gradually, which he's very much in his right to do. So it is down to the race stewards on that one, if I'm completely honest. Meanwhile, Mark Neutelings has a very, very fast closing McLaren on the back bumper. As now Bliv AK now trying to close down on the 2 ahead. So the 747 Nissan Nismo GTR GT3, aka named Godzilla, especially when you saw Katsumayo Chio-san with back at Mount Panorama back in 2015 when the Nismo team, where he was running alongside Ollie Jarvis, won the Liqui Moly 12 Hours of Bathurst. And I always try and get my pronunciation as right as possible on that one, because if you say Bathurst, no, it's Bathurst. That's how the Aussies say it, so you've got to try and keep your P's and Q's going. But Bliv AK being closed in on by... Yeah, it is a Bathurst. Yeah, thanks to our broadcast director for trying to correct me. But when I know a particular Australian who kept on correcting me on that one, you know who you are, and I hope you're keeping well out there. As now we are on board on the top left-hand corner with Rhys Wiggin, who's trying to close on Mark Neutelings, but the gap has expanded out to around 0.7 of a second. Bliv AK still trying to close on the McLaren itself, so that's really funny that we've got 9th, 10th and 11th position. You've got the 666 of Mark Neutelings, the 667 of Rhys Wiggin, and the 747 of Bliv AK. If that Nissan had wings, he'd be definitely taking off into the stratosphere there, Steve.
Yeah, he's trying hard. I mean, I'm watching with interest Chris Pinchbeck and Steve Haley. Obviously, keep trying to pressure Bliv to let them pass, but obviously he's not wanting to, and he doesn't have to. You know, they'll be getting frustrated because they just want to unlap themselves, and I'm sure they feel they can go a bit faster. But you know, Bliv's maintaining track position. He's got his eyes firmly fixed on Rhys Wiggins up ahead, and he's battling for actual track position as it stands there on the track. So yeah, it's a different sort of scenario that the guys are used to.
Well, we're fast approaching the halfway point in around 6.5 minutes' time. And I count that the top 11 drivers have yet to make their mandatory pit stop. So obviously these drivers have been going literally flat out since we went green nearly 40 minutes ago. There's Chris Pinchbeck trying to close up once again on Bliv AK, getting into the slipstream, trying to unlap himself and get past the 747 GT Sport Motor Team RJN Nissan GTR GT3, one of the most recent teams to actually keep on using it as we go on board with Bliv AK through the Rettifilio chicane. Pinchbeck close on the back bumper of the of Godzilla, but the GTR manages to pull away out of the chicane through into Curva Grande, now hitting the apex, and will start to pull a bit more speed heading down to the Variante della Roggia. 6th gear, hitting the top of the rev range, down into 2nd gear here at the first part of it, through the 2nd part, now up to 3rd, now up to 4th, and as you can see, the slightly different inclinations on the rev how the drivers actually see the red lines. A bit different on the GTR as opposed to some of the more conventional machinery such as the 720S, which will normally scale from left to right. And here is the Audi of Chris Pinchbeck. Again, a different layout on the using a Bosch heads-up display in front of the driver, down into 3rd gear, 130, as there was a big run wide there. I've got a feeling that might have been Mark Neutelings or Rhys Wiggin coming through, as that is one of the Jaguars. I think that is Richard Pixley. That might be as Ian Tamkin now pits in 20th position in the 82 Jensen Team Rocket RJN McLaren, as Bliv AK runs very wide through Parabolica, and that allows Chris Pinchbeck to gain another lap back, but the Nissan now closes back up under the slipstream. Just over 49 minutes to go, as again Bliv AK up the inside of Chris Pinchbeck. This seems to be the Nissan sweet spot, going deep into the braking zone, into the Rettifilio, and manages to get it through. And this time, Steve Haley closes up on Chris Pinchbeck. So in many respects here, Steve, just looking by what's happening between Bliv AK and then also Chris Pinchbeck and Stephen Haley, that Bliv is the cork in the bottle. And if Pinchbeck gets past, it's going to allow him to get away from Stephen Haley. But we both know that Haley isn't going to let him get away that easily.
Yeah, I mean, he is the cork in the bottle, but he's only the cork in the bottle on these slower parts of the track through the corners where the two Audis seem to close up on him. But as soon as he gets to stretch his legs, he's away. And as we saw, Chris managed to get past him through Parabolica, but Bliv literally drove past him down the straight almost, and he couldn't even match him on the brakes. You know, Bliv managed to hold the position, and I sort of get the feeling at the moment Steve's just sat back watching Chris, and he's not really sort of getting too involved. He's just waiting for something to happen up front. He's just playing the long game. I mean, we are moving into the zone where anyone who hasn't pitted will be looking at maybe pitting now as we get to nearly the halfway point, and obviously Bliv hasn't, so he'll be coming in soon, I would think, if he split the fuel load down the middle.
Yep, so we're on to effectively what's going to be very shortly lap number 24 as Bliv AK sends it up the inside through the first part of Parabolica. Now that's one of the Jaguars running wide coming out of the corner, but obviously blue flag situations are now very much apparent here at Monza as we head into the dying stages of the first half of this race. So Hartnell, Mitchell, Riley, Karkosh, Walker, Martin Pilkington, Isalovic, Kelsey, Neutelings, Wiggin, and the driver on your screen, Bliv AK, and the 747 Nissan, have yet to serve their mandatory pit stop. As there is the leader coming down towards Parabolica on lap number 24 so far, and it's been a pretty clean race for the number 168 Tempesta Racing Ferrari 488 GT3. But the key question is, who is going to blink first? Because obviously when they started this race, they will... I mean, Steve, look at it from this perspective. Regan Mitchell is about 5 seconds behind James Hartnell. Then it's a further 8.8 seconds back to Dean Riley. A further 7.7 seconds back to Lucas Kakos, with Aaron Walker a further 5.5 seconds adrift. Oh, Mitchell's pitted. Mitchell is the first one to pit. As here we go on with a replay. This is one of the Jaguars, and that is... Oh, that was not very... I think that's not a very happy Richard Pixley, who tried to go around the outside through into the second part of the Variante della Roggia and got turned around by Chris Pinchbeck for having cut across the Audi's front nose, but obviously Chris was unsighted there a little bit. So Mitchell pits from second place on the road. And I think now, Steve, this is where the strategy really comes into play, because some of the drivers will have been sipping on the fuel, and some will have probably gone a bit more less astute. They will have gone a bit more full throttle, wouldn't they?
Yeah, I mean, I think they'll. To be fair, they will fuel for just full throttle, flat out racing. They'll break it. A lot of the fastest tactic is to split it into two halves, obviously 45 minutes, and just fuel for both halves, because you have to take tyres, and that determines the length of the pit stop, which is usually around 30 seconds, unless you've got some damage to repair as well. It just depends how fast your in lap and out lap are as to the undercut and overcut, even if that's the way you're looking to race. But I don't know if anyone's really close enough to achieve that at this point. And they're all reasonably well spread out up at the front end. I see Dean Riley now up into the second due to Regan taking that pit stop, and Regan's dropped down to 10th place. But everybody else up ahead has got to do their pit stop, so I expect to see him climbing back up the leaderboard very soon.
And as you say that, the leader has now pitted on lap number 25. James Hartnell has now pitted. That puts the second of the Tempesta Racing Ferraris now up into the de facto lead. So Dean Riley in the number 2 goes across the start-finish line. This will then promote Karkosh, Walker, and possibly Martin Pilkington, I think, up into the top 4 positions here, as now Dean Riley negotiates the Variante and Aaron Walker
pitting as well.
Yep. Good. Well, I think we both spotted that at the same time, didn't we?
Yeah.
Synchronised spotting, as now Martin Pilkington will inherit 4th place as a result of that.
Yeah, great drive from Aaron Martin Pilkington this week, staying out of trouble relatively and having a good race. Aaron Walker will be very pleased with the position he's in, considering the pace he doesn't have. And Amy's still cheering loud and clear on YouTube at the moment, saying again, "Let's go, Walker, let's go." So yeah, Aaron will be really pleased with where he's at.
Bliv AK's just pitted from 9th place. So
Yeah, so it's as expected. To be fair, Alex, halfway point in the race, they're literally taking enough fuel to complete round about half. They'll swap the tyres, come out fresh tyres, and enough fuel to go to the end. So it'll be a race to the flag once they've all done.
right, here's Chris Crossman looking incredibly racy, and now he's trying to get past. Now I think that is for position. So he's literally on the back bumper of Reese Wiggin heading into the Ascari chicane. And the Porsche really got the legs on the McLaren at this particular moment. As that particular occasion, Chris Crossman actually decides to duck out of that battle. I think, obviously, with what happened with him earlier on, where he had the technical problem, and then obviously Chris Pinchbeck had to literally dart to one side and did a 1080 plus in his Audi on the main straightaway when Chris Crossman was battling for effectively second place with Regan Mitchell. So now
I'm going to say it's a great recovery drive from Chris Crossman. I mean, just bear in mind that I do think he'll have to pit again for some fuel at some point. Probably towards the last 10-15 minutes of the race, he'll come in for some fuel, I think.
Yeah, a bit of a splash and dash, if you will. As now the top three in the pits. So Riley, Karkosh, Isalovic now pits. So we've only got Ranjiv Kalsi and Mark Neutelings, who have yet to serve their mandatory pit stops. So whether Ranjiv Kalsi and Mark Neutelings might think, well, if I go a further lap down the road, I might have an opportunity to get myself a little bit further up the order. Now, Ranjiv Kalsi has been as high as 7th position in this race so far. Mark Neutelings pretty much in the top 10 in this race as the 666 Bentley Beam. As now Riley and Karkosh now have completed their full pit stops. There's James Hartnell rounding out what will effectively be the top. Well, it shows third on the screen, but then shows 7th on the timing. As now Karkosh has been confirmed to have completed the pit stop, the mandatory one. But I think what James Hartnell is doing is just seeing that both Messrs Pinchbeck and Haley are scrapping between themselves over bragging rights, effectively. He's just going to let them do all the hard work and pick up the toe as a result, as Adam Isalovic is in the pits too.
Yeah, I think what it's showing us at the moment is the guys like James that did a couple of laps extra compared to Regan Mitchell. Regan's closed the gap by 2 to 3 seconds on James because James went a couple of laps longer on those old tyres where the lap times were suffering. So I think, definitely a benefit to pit as close as you can to the halfway point and as soon as you can to get the fresh rubber on. And that's like I say, that's shown with the gaps now as Regan's has closed up, albeit only by a couple of seconds, but he had closed up.
Yeah, so effectively we are into nigh on the last 40 minutes of this 90-minute encounter here at Autodromo Nazionale di Monza. Don't forget, if you want to get involved with Simsport Racing, head to the official website, simsport-racing.com. Also, if you do fancy a little bit of fun behind the wheel of a simulator, why not hit up our friends at Simply Race, simplyrace.co.uk. They've got some exciting stuff coming up in the pipeline as well, as they are back to action these days. So Hartnell now gets past Pinchbeck into the Rettifilio chicane as Kalsi now pits. Just one driver, and that, I'm going to say, Mark Neutelings must have an incredibly disgustingly huge fuel tank on that Bentley.
It's the fuel economy, fuel tank. I mean, to be fair, I think the Bentley realistically can do 1 hour 20 minutes approximately on a tank of fuel, so it can go further than any of the other cars on a full tank. But Mark's notorious. He does tend to pit later than anyone else, and he's going for camera time. I think we should give him some airtime. Really, that's why he's doing it. He likes to get his car on the screen and get a mention. So he's achieving that. There we go, Mark. Just your 5 minutes of fame.
Yeah, in the Team Parker Racing colours used by Scott Morvan this season, as British GT was in action at Donington Park this weekend. Now we've had a stop-go 30. Ranjiv Kalsi has just fallen foul. I think that might be a speeding in the pit lane infringement there, possibly.
Yeah, definitely, I would say. So that's really unfortunate because, as you said earlier, Ranjif having a very good race and a long way up the field, maybe compared to some of the results he's had in the last round. So yeah, really disappointing for him.
Yeah, I think if we can get on board with Mark Neuteling's, last lap was 1 minute 49.479. Just want to see what his fuel's like at the minute. That's the now that really. That's the thing. I can't really make heads or tails, but I would say that he's possibly got a little bit of fuel left in the tank, a little bit left in reserve. But just to keep going like the way he has done, that's pretty good showing from the Bentley. But the other key point that we have to remember here, Steve, is that it's not just about the fuel; it's also about the tyres. And these tyres that he's got on this car have now been running for nearly 50 minutes.
Yeah, but I mean, to be fair to Mark, I'm just looking at the timing screen. His best laps are 1:49.428, and his last lap was a 1:49.479. So he's still achieving the lap times, which is credit to him. Not the fastest guy on the track, but he's certainly he's consistent. He's putting the lap times in. But yeah, he'll be coming in very shortly.
Yeah, he's got 10 litres worth of fuel on the because you can see like on the right hand side, I can gauge it now. He's got 10 litres worth of fuel left, so he possibly might go on. I think if he goes on for another lap, as it looks like Ranjif Kalsi now serving the stop go 30 as a result of that, and Dave Hedges has now pulled into the pits, possibly for possibly for some fuel. Let's not forget that a lot of the drivers that were compromised a bit earlier ended up having to pit early, so might have actually put on the new tyres then and brimmed the tanks, as Mark Neutelings will go on for another lap. 36 minutes 23 seconds still to go, and we are now on lap number, I think that is now we're going on to lap number 30 here at Monza. But a great job by Mark Neutelings so far.
Yeah, and we can just see James in the background now. James is closing on Mark, but James will really want Mark to pit. He won't want to start having to battle to get past Mark, because that will allow Regan potentially to close the gap up. So he'll be looking ahead. He'll be putting the laps in as fast as he can, thinking, "Go on, Mark, please pit, please pit. I don't want to battle you, please pit." So just he won't want that battle. But if Mark's got around 10 litres on, that's equates to probably 2 to 3 laps in the Bentley, I would say. 2 laps easily, 3 at a scrape.
Yeah, move, Mark. Get out the way is probably what James Hartnell is thinking round about now. So,
but if you ever talk to Mark on Discord, and he's a great guy, fantastic character, but there's one thing he won't do if he's racing for position: he won't make it easy for you. He'll show you respect, as he did in the GT4s, but he just won't make it easy for you. He will battle, and rightly so.
well, that's I mean, when you consider what nationality he is as well, the thing is that any racing driver worth their salt, real life or otherwise, will push, and they will keep pushing all the way through. Still at the moment, James Hartnell holds the fastest lap of this race so far, a 1 minute 47.952, as we are fast approaching the final third here at Autodromo Nazionale di Monza. 3.6 miles, 5.793 kilometers, the Temple of Speed. There is the Cathedral of Speed, but that's Assen in the Netherlands. But then you've got the Temple of Speed, the true full throttle, 100% pedal to the metal circuit here at Monza.
And Max pitted
on lap number 31 of the race.
James will be breathing a sigh of release and saying service has resumed.
Normal service has resumed. Yep. Well, yep. That's very, very much the case, as here we have Steve Haley and Richard Pixley battling over position. Oh, and Pixley getting towards the inside, towards Curva Grande. Haley to the outside in the Audi, but the Jaguar seems to have the legs on the Ingolstadt vehicle as they come towards the Variante della Roggia, and this time Pixley gets ahead in the Jaguar and not too far behind. That looks to be, I think, possibly Regan Mitchell, as Mark Neutelings now is demoted to third position. But now, really, it's a full-on sprint until the end of the race here, Steve, and 33 and a half minutes still to go. there is every sense of the word of the realms of possibility that if Regan Mitchell keeps things nice and clean, crosses the T's, dots the I's, and goes for it, he could have a chance, if things go his way, to catch up with James Hartnell.
Yeah, he'll certainly be pushing all the way, and he's a driver that could achieve that. He's very consistent, is Regan, and he's quick, as you can see. Regan's best lap is a 1:48.1, which is only literally, it's just over a tenth off James's fastest lap. So, yeah, pretty close on pace, and he'll certainly fight to the end. And they've done the pit stops, so as you say, it's a sprint to the flag now.
Yeah, as you can see how committed they are coming under the bridge at over 260 kilometers an hour. Aaron Walker there in the Audi Team Hitotsuyama 99 Audi R8 LMS GT3 is trying to close the gap on Lukas Kakos, but now at the moment that is 8.6 seconds. And with the pace that the Audis have been showing, I'm just having a look at the lap times. Lukas Kakos, Steve, has just done a 1:48.390. Aaron Walker's last lap was he did a 1:48.873, so it was nearly half a second down on the Lamborghini. Now, when you think about it, you mentioned about the balance of performance. And also, let's look at it from another perspective. Lamborghini and Audi are under the same umbrella corporation, VW.
Yep.
But the Lamborghini seems to have the legs on the Audi here at Monza.
Yeah, definitely. It seems to have it's the speed, and that's what the Audi's losing out on. It seems to be the top end speed, because as you can see through the corners, it's matching the cars, all the other cars around it. It's closing up on them. But even when Steve Haley was trying to unlap himself from Richard Pixley, he'd got right alongside. But as soon as they started hitting fourth, fifth, and sixth gear, the Jaguar just pulled away. No slipstream, just went under its own power. So yeah, it's interesting that, like you say, the cars under the same, under the same banner of VW, they're very different on the balance of performance. But obviously, that's based on the whole package, not just the engine performance.
Yeah, because the Audi and the Lamborghini have the same lump behind, well, just over the rear axle of these cars. As now, Haley coming under fire. Chris Crossman, you did say about a splash and dash. Well, he's pitted with just over 30 minutes to go. So I think he possibly did the sensible thing and brimmed the tank when he had the damage earlier on, and has done a really good fuel-saving job in that Porsche. It now drops him down to what is effectively, I think, possibly going to be 14th position if Ranjith Kelsey gets past very, very shortly. So in many respects, it could be the fact that Chris Crossman could further surge up the order and help his chances no end, because effectively 11th place nets him a few more points in the pocket and will help him go a little bit further towards Archie Clifford Roberts and also James Hartnell, with Hartnell now in prime position to take the spoils here at Monza.
Yeah, Hartnell settled back into the pace in the lead. He's extending it back up from 8 seconds to nearly 9.5, as we see Bliv having a little bit of a spin in the, a slide in Parabolica. Did well to hold that and limit the amount of time lost. But I think that was Pinchbeck managed to get past him, unlap himself maybe. But yeah, Bliv's gathered it up and going again.
Right, we're now into the last third, the final half an hour, 29 minutes and 27 seconds. And it's been a bit of a race to forget, I think, for Dave Hedges in the Audi, one of the two editors' cars using the Audi Sport Team WRT livery, running 19th at the moment. Jeffrey Wolf looks to have also pitted. So those that have taken those early pit stops are now starting to have to pit a little bit earlier than they might have anticipated. But when you go full guns blazing all the way through the race, it's quite interesting how the strategies really do unfold, don't they?
Yeah, and like you say, there was the incidents at the beginning which really throw the strategies sort of out of the window, as it were. As we see Regan lapping Richard Pixley there, it's nice and clean in the braking zone. Richard left just about enough room for him to get the job done. So Regan will just keep his head down now, and he's just consolidated in second place. I don't think he's going to close that gap, although he won't stop trying. He's still going to lap as fast as he can, and indeed his last lap was a 1:48.4. Bit compared to his best of a 48.1, so he's pretty much on his fastest pace. Certainly hasn't let up.
Yeah, very, very true there, mate. I couldn't really agree more on that, even if I tried. There is Chris Crossman, now in 15th position, which will net him around about 18 points. So that will put him on 198. I'm just doing the calculations as we go along, because it's always nice to sort of have an understanding of, the team's championship standings. I'm going to sort of leave to one side because it's easier for that to be sort of sorted out post-race. But again, now look just up ahead. I mean, Chris Crossman is literally a few moments away, I think, from getting himself back into 14th position, which again will put him onto 201 points. Aaron Walker still now is rounding out the top 5, so that is effectively 48 points. Now I'm sort of repeating what I said earlier, but it's always good just to sort of remind our audience out there that there is always that opportunity of being able to give people an insight on just how tight the championship will be when we go to Zolder for the 2 half-hour sprint races. Now, if Misano was anything to go by, Zolder is going to be an absolute Belgian firecracker, and that's without the waffles and the frites as well. Belgium's a lovely part of the world. I've spent many a day in the commentary box over there, and got some really good friends, and it's a lovely place to go racing as well, in many respects. But yeah, I'm just sort of looking at it from every single permutation. I mean, Dave Hedges at the moment now is in 18th position. That's 9 points. And that would put him from 152 to 161. James Hartnell on course for a full score, which puts him on 226. Got no Kevin Critchley here this evening. Lukas Karkos currently running in P4. That nets him 51 points. And that will put him up to 168. Regan Mitchell in second position. That's 66 points. And that will put him on to 161. So that would then put Dave Hedges level on points with Regan Mitchell. Lukas Karkos goes up the order. James Hartnell goes to second in the standings. Chris Crossman will be in fourth. Aaron Walker in third place. So the twists and turns of this tale, we might be halfway through the season, Steve, but there's still plenty more left to discuss. I mean, especially over the multitude of different race formats that we'll have. We've got a 2-hour race to close out the season in Paul Ricard. We've got a 2-hour race at Spa. We've got the sprint races. You've got the 60-minute races. You've got the 90-minute endurance races. It's all about testing the drivers to their limits, isn't it?
Yeah, it's all about testing the drivers' concentration, strategies, setups, because you do set the cars up slightly different. When you're racing longer races, it's more about being able to have a stable setup rather than just a hot lapping setup. While you were talking there, I have to say Chris Crossman put a fantastic move on Rich Smith to take that 14th place away. So yeah, very, very fast, very clean move. Very well done to Chris, because when you have an issue like Chris had, whatever it was, and you were battling for the lead or a second or the lead, and got to get taken out through no fault of your own, it's very hard to get your head down, get back into it, and find yourself at the back end of the field and battling again. It takes a lot of character to come back and keep going like that. So well done, Chris.
Well, you see, he's showcased that not just in the GT3 side of things, but also the GT4 side of things. Let's not forget that. Hungary, he had a major disaster, came back fighting, but then came back last time out at Kyalami and finished on the podium. So
I think it shows respect for everybody else that you're racing with, though, as well, because it's all too easy just to drop out and not have the battle. Think, well, I'm not battling up the front, so I'm just gonna, I'll just park it and chalk this one as a bad experience. But to come back and keep battling like he has, it's great credit to him.
it shows grit, determination, and the power of the human spirit. It's not about how hard you can get hit, it's about how hard you can keep getting hit and keep moving forward, in the words of Rocky Balboa. And that is quite an inspirational quote in its own right, because, what has been happening across the globe over the last 4.5 months, everyone has had to keep moving forward. We've had to deal with new surroundings, new changes to lifestyle and everything like that. But then it's also the same in racing. That the 3 words that I know that most drivers live by is I will never give up. They'll keep on fighting until every ounce of energy has been spent. And that's very much the case in sim racing as well. There'll be those drivers, those characters like Chris Crossman, who will keep fighting. They won't. They're like a little dog with a bone. They will not let go, even if you try and pull it away from them. They will keep a hold of that as hard as they can for as long as they can.
Well, let's not forget, most of these drivers are on the sim rig most evenings, if not most evenings, every other evening, putting 2, 3, 4, even longer hours practicing. So they all take it very seriously. They spend a lot of money on their setups, on their rigs, and they spend a lot of time in those rigs. So it's serious to them. That's what they're doing, and they're enjoying it. And like I say, not just Chris Crossman. You've got Pinchbeck, Hedges, there's Haley. There's a few of them not having the best race of the season, but they're all still there battling, and that's what counts, and that's what we try to encourage as much as possible. And that's why we have that little incentive that you get some bonus points at the end of the season if you attend every race and you finish every race.
Yeah, I think that's a very, very good incentive for the drivers to sort of give them that motivation to keep moving forward and not give up in any way, shape, or form. Because through these races, drivers will develop, and I've seen it through a lot of drivers that I know of within the karting fraternity. About some of them where you see them absolutely despondent, and then I see them the following day when I'm up in the commentary box, and there's been a significant change. Someone's had that chat with them as if to say, come on, chin up, go out there and do what you need to do, get the job done. And we've just had a confirmation that unfortunately Chris Bowman has been ill all week, didn't have a comfortable setup. He said, at least I've been able to enjoy the rest of the stream, though. Good job as ever, as always, guys. Well, thank you very much, Chris. Hopefully get well soon, and let's see you back for the double 30 at Zolder. So we're fast approaching the last... right, okay, Rich Smith has just pitted. So that's probably his splash and dash in the Lexus. So, yeah, we're now seeing those strategies come to the fore where drivers are now having to pit. And Chris Crossman looks to be closing ever so slightly, I think, here on Ranjith Kelsey. Wouldn't you agree here, Steve?
Yeah, I think he's based on his pace. I'm just having a look now.
Richard Pixley off. And that is on the left-hand side coming out of the Ascari chicane. So Pixley having a massive moment. The tiredness now starting to come in as we hit 20 minutes on the clock to go. Sorry, you were saying Steve.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Mr. Crossman is lapping around about half a second a lap faster than Mr. Kelsey, based on the last laps that they did. But yeah, he's got to be favourite to catch. And yeah, actually, as they cross the line again, he's half a second. So he's certainly on target to catch him. I'm distracted because I'm actually reading some comments about the commentary. Gene Pinchbeck says, great commentary, extremely well done. And a lady that I know very well, Jackie, proudly, doing a great job, Mr. P, so I'll take that one. But yeah, it's all... Oh, got a replay.
Right, so he's come through the Ascari, just booted the throttle, back end spat it out. Luckily enough, he caught it, but then the left side gets compromised. Right, okay, well, yeah.
I have to say, and I think you'll agree, the Jaguars, they are very quick in a straight line, but they do seem to lack something, especially on the exit of corners. We've seen a few incidents involving the Jags, and that's not a slur on the drivers. It's more probably the cars that they just seem to be quick in a straight line, but under the braking zone they seem to suffer, and on the exit of corners they seem to be a bit tail happy.
Well, when you think about it, with the ML5 Jaguars, when they produced them, they were not actually, they were built from the ground up. There was no involvement from Jaguar. You know, ML5 and the team had to work incredibly hard. And in some respects, now this is a case that, okay, Chris Crossman has managed to get a lap back on Richard Pixley there as a result of what's just happened. So, or was that Daniel Parker? I'll just keep an eye on the numbers as they come through the Ascari chicane.
More interestingly, Chris has got the gap down to 5 seconds now to Ranjiv Kelsey, so he's definitely closing in now.
Yeah, last time it was a 1 minute 48.765 for Crossman. Kelsey, 1 minute 48.822. So. Okay, so right, Stephen Haley has now pitted. This changes things a little bit more now, doesn't it? Because Stephen Haley, that means that Ranjiv Kelsey will be promoted. That will mean that Chris Crossman, I'm just going to keep an eye, and that means that now Crossman is ahead of Haley on the road as a result of that. So Haley drops down to 14th position. Chris Crossman now up into 13th, which will give him 24 points. So, more mental.
You are certainly earning your money this evening, sir.
What? You mean my pack of 4 Mars bars that I asked for in the post that I haven't got yet?
I was going to say it might be a pack of Mars bars and a Snicker as a bonus, but yeah, you're doing very well, mate. You're on the ball. As you rightly said, Mr. Haley's dropped down to 14th place. Mr. Crossman is only 4.5 seconds off Ranjiv Kelsey now, so he's definitely looking good for that 12th spot with 16 minutes to go. Yeah,
because Ranjiv Kelsey did a 1 minute 48.588. Chris Crossman close to breaking the 1 minute 48 now. He was 45 thousandths off that last lap alone on lap number 38 of the race. So Chris Crossman, I think what he's wanting to do is to exercise damage limitation. And when you look at it from this perspective, okay, if he was still in 14th position, Chris Crossman would get 21 points, taking his total to 201, put him behind Aaron Walker. However, if he gets 12th, that puts him on 27 points, and that will put him third on 207, 4 ahead of Aaron Walker, who is still doing a great job with 15 minutes and 47 seconds on the clock to go in 5th place. And I'm just keeping an eye now on Dean Riley and Lukas Kakos. Look at the gap between them. That's just under 4 seconds, with just over 15 minutes remaining. And what's more here, Steve, is that both cars are running. Well, Kakos is a 10.5 quicker on aggregate per lap.
Yeah, so he's obviously got his head down and going. I think he's showing the gap as growing actually slightly there, but I'm not quite sure. That's maybe just the sector time that's throwing it out a little bit. But yeah, you're quite right. The battle's not over there. Aaron Walker's settled down. He's 14 seconds back with Martin Pilkington. I'm just waiting for the timing to come on. He's a further 11 seconds back. So those guys are pretty stable. 2 drivers that are standing out for me. I mean, there's lots of drivers standing out, as we were talking about, with grit and determination and keeping going. But Adam and Mark in 7th and 8th. Adam's had a hectic race. He's had a couple of incidents, not necessarily his fault, but he's had some incidents, and he's doing a sterling job in 7th place. Mark, as we saw in the GT4s on Wednesday evening, just kept his head down, kept going. 8th place is a fantastic result for him. I mean, we're not counting our chickens yet, but he's sat there with a 12-second cushion behind him, so he's looking fairly good with 14 minutes to go.
Yeah, very much the case, because effectively he was the one that pitted last out of everybody on the field. And, with about probably about 7 litres worth of fuel left in that Bentley as we now head into 14 minutes on the clock. So I think some of the drivers that have stood out for me, Richard Pixley, one of them. Obviously the highest placed Jaguar, that's the highest result they've had all season. Reese Wiggin, normally you'd see him towards the bottom part of the top 20, now running in 10th place, and in front of that is Bliv AK in the 747 Nissan. So as Dave Hedges has now pitted from 19th position, and I'm wondering whether he has decided to unfortunately call it a day.
I'd be very surprised unless he's had some other incident that's caused him to, pit for damage, because he's still in a point-scoring position. As we said, every point counts. You don't know what's going to happen in future races, so it's, sometimes it'd be a bit silly to throw this race away when you've potentially even got 6 points to score. So yeah, if he's quitting, he's had some other incident, I would say.
Yeah, well, Lukas Kakos going very, very wide through the second Lesmo. That Lamborghini, if it's not very careful, could end up spinning around like a little top and end up hitting the barriers. You can just see how hard Kakos is pushing. He's just set his fastest lap last time around on lap number 40, 1 minute 48.3. And I'm looking at the gap between him and Dean Riley. Look, they're not that far apart now. It's 3.5 seconds on the last lap. Kakos is closing on the Ferrari, the number 2 of Dean Riley.
I was just going to say, Alex, he's got him in sight now. He can see him on the straights. He can see that time coming down. But not only that, he's got a visual on him. And when you get a visual on the car in front, that just gives you that extra tenth. Or should I say, you'll try and get that extra tenth, and hence running wide in a few corners, pushing harder than he might do if he couldn't see him. So yeah, it's not over. He's 3.3 behind now, so that's another 2 tenths. Taken out the lead, out of the gap, so definitely it's not over. 12 minutes to go. We could have a battle towards the end of this race with these two.
Yeah, the gap between the pair of them that he's just literally taken a chunk out of. It was just over 3.5 seconds. He took a 0.225 second advantage on pure lap pace last time around on Dean Riley. So Riley, I think, will see the bright green fenders of that Lamborghini closing up very closely indeed.
The other battle on the track, Crossman and Kelsey. Crossman's closed that gap down to 1.5. So obviously he's going to be in the slipstream pretty much, I would imagine, when they come round to the start-finish straight. He'll certainly be looking to put a move on Ranjiv as soon as he can and get away from him in that 12th position.
Yeah, well, if you look at the lap times, Chris Crossman did a 1 minute 48.1. Ranjiv Kelsey had an absolute shocker, 1 minute 50.085. So I'm wondering whether that Ferrari's tyres are starting to drop off the cliff a little bit as both he and Chris Crossman run a little bit wide coming out of the Ascari chicane.
They're all testing those limits of Ascari's chicane, aren't they? When you're looking back at all of them, they're all pushing for every inch of track and that little bit more. Let's just see what Chris can do down the straight. I mean, the Ferrari will have the legs this time because I think he's not quite close enough. But as across the line, we'll see how much the gaps come down again.
Right, so 0.9. Oh, Chris Crossman has just done a 1:48.015. Ranjiv Kelsey, not even close. A 1 minute 48.858. Give it 2 laps, and I think Chris Crossman will have that 12th place in his pocket. Well, there's Dean Riley, and now just behind is Lukas Kakos. And actually, Riley was slightly quicker, but by only 9 1/1000ths of a second.
Just want to point out Dave Hedges has come out of the pits and he's in 20th place for that last point scoring position. Ian Tampkin, unfortunately, in 21st, seems to have picked up a drive-through, which he's just cleared in the pits. So I would imagine that was for track limits, obviously exploiting them a few too many times.
Yes, as the system software of Assetto Corsa Competizione does pick that up, but it can also be cancelled manually. But the gap between Hartnell and Mitchell, I mean, as soon as Hartnell got into the lead and started pulling away, Steve, the only closest challenger I would have thought would have been Regan Mitchell. As now we go through the Ascari chicane, and Chris Crossman is getting ever closer. Gap now to just under half a second. Oh, another little run wide. The right rear of the Ferrari from Calci touches the gravel coming out of the Variante Ascari as they head down towards Parabolica. But I think Chris Crossman won't be close enough this time. But I think if he gets it right coming out of this corner, he's going to have a real opportunity here to push that Ferrari to the limit, and it could force Calci into a mistake at a moment's notice.
Yeah, Ranji, he's pushing very hard. You can see he's not managing to keep it on the lines. And his last lap was a 49, more or less dead, and Chris's was a 48.4. So he's half a second, minute at least a lap faster.
Yes,
he's going to try and get the power on out of here now, but if the Ferrari might just have the legs on the Porsche, we'll see.
Well, they're going side by side through Curva Grande. The Ferrari to the inside, Porsche to the outside, and Chris Crossman not giving up, and he's going to get the inside run for the Variante della Roggia and sends it up the inside of Calci, but runs a bit wide through the first part. Oh, the pair clash, but I think at the end of the day, Calci was trying to go for a move around the outside, and Crossman had the racing line, but then Chris Crossman, in due diligence, does the sportsman thing and lets Calci pass. So.
Yeah, I just watching that move there. I think Ranj went for, he went to try and pass him back, and I don't think that move was really on. I think Chris had got the job done and had the position. But yeah, credit to Chris Crossman. He's given him the position back, and I'm sure he'll pass him again.
Well, I think it won't be that long before it happens, because through the Ascari chicane they come. This is the battle for 12th position. Gap now between Hartnell and Mitchell as again Ranjith Calci just comes flying out, going as far right as he dares. And if that right rear tyre goes any further deeper into the gravel, that is going to spit the Ferrari out and spit it to the other side of the circuit and plant him firmly in the barriers. I believe that for a sec. I don't dismiss that for a second. But now again, Calci, because of the slight. The tiredness, the mental and the physical exhaustion coming in as we're fast approaching. I can't believe that I'm now saying 6 minutes and 40 seconds still to go here in this 90-minute encounter here at Autodromo Nazionale di Monza. I think it's just really that Calci's just making that mistake coming out of the Ascari chicane. And when the tyres are fading, the driver's getting tired, the slightest mistake can cause absolute catastrophic consequences. And Calci, I think, has been running on that thin line between one side of the double-edged sword and the other one that's just going to sort of literally go, well, no, sorry, you're off the circuit.
Yeah, and I think talking of mistakes, it looks like Lucas Kakos has maybe made a mistake, because that gap's gone back up to 4.3 now behind Dean Riley. So he's got nearly 6, just under 6 minutes to go. So he got it all to do, 4 seconds to make up. All order, but I think Chris Crossman's going to start attacking Ranj again now, less than a second behind him, and going to try and tuck into the slipstream and make a bit more time up him now.
Yeah, I think you're very right as we fast approach the final 5 minutes of what's been a great race for the halfway point of the season. Here's a little bit of a replay. Okay, so, right, Crossman. Yeah, I think that was Crossman's position. He didn't need to give it back, because he might have gone a bit. Okay. A little bit of an explanation there from the broadcast director that, yeah, Crossman went a bit too deep into there. And then Calci tried to go up the inside and possibly would have made the move for the next corner. So Crossman did the sportsman thing, as you very much said there, Steve, to give the position back. But I think it's just really now a case of just Chris... well, hang on. Yeah, because the thing is that I've noticed that Richard Pixley is actually behind Chris Crossman. You know what this means? Chris Crossman is in 12th place. The position he's going for is now for P11. That could net him 30 points if he gets past Ranjith Calci as they go through into the Variante della Roggia, as Crossman was side by side. Oh, Calci runs wide, but Crossman gets his opportunity.
Yeah, well, that was well worked from Chris. I mean, both drivers great driving there to go side by side through there very cleanly. Thanks to the producer for a fantastic angle on that, who saw it all unfold so clearly. But Ranjit obviously, unfortunately, just tried to get on the power and ran wide into the sand, which was never going to give him the speed he needed.
Yeah, but Chris Crossman striking whilst the iron was hot there and just saw the gap, went for it, job done. End of story. There's now the gap between first and second position is exactly 11.1 seconds. There's now Kelsey looking to try and get that position back. But you know what we both know here, Steve, is that Chris Crossman, once he gets a position, he's not going to relinquish that in a hurry.
Yeah, let's just see what oh, that's very deep from Ranch. Very, very brave, and wow. He took that position and he meant it. I don't think Chris Crossman knew he was even there until he was past.
But Crossman's just slingshot past him coming out of the parabolica. I think Ranjit probably knew, well, actually, Chris has done that to me. I've done that to him. I'm going to give him the place back. So again,
yeah, interesting.
I'm waiting for the Discord chat on Simsport Racing to start pinging when these two start talking post race. But yeah, I mean, effectively, that's been pretty entertaining because I think we were all a bit aghast when Ranjit just sent it and just went, "Yeah, I'm in Ferrari's home turf now." Oh no, right, that was not what he wanted to do there, and that has really effectively given Chris Crossman 11th position, which will net him 30 points. Obviously, all results are considered provisional, pending any race steward and race director discussions post-race. As now,
just looking at Ferrari number 111 in 7th place, Adam,
yeah.
He's closing right up on Aaron Martin Pilkington, half a second back. But that's a battle for position up the road. Obviously, Adam's done, as we were saying earlier, he's done a fantastic job tonight because he's had a few incidents and he's now going to be battling for 6th place by the looks of it.
Yes, very, very true. And with them, looks to be, that is Gavin Utley, as Isalovic in the 111 T2 Motorsports Ferrari 488 GT3. As we're on now lap number 49, just under 90 seconds of this 90-minute race. Round 5 of the Simsport Racing Assetto Corsa Competizione. Season 3, GT3, Round 5 here at Autodromo Nazionale di Monza is fast coming to its inevitable conclusion. Now, I am totting up some points so I can give some provisional scorings after the race itself, but Dave Hedges will take home 3 points. I'm just wondering where our leader is right now because we've got just under 60 seconds of this race remaining here at Monza.
Just looking at Adam, is in the slipstream now of Pilkington. Not close enough to do anything this lap, but he's certainly there, and Pilkington will know that he's there, and he's going to start defending now. Wondering whether he's got just one more lap or 2 more laps to go. Like I say, depends where James is on the track. I would imagine Pilkington will be hoping this is the last lap, as Adam is literally glued to his bumper. He's in the slipstream. I'm not quite sure he's going to get it done this time. Shows his nose, but now he's having to tuck back in. He's discretion the better part of valour there for Adam.
That's my line.
I've been working with you too long. 5 rounds.
Oh, I know, mate. I know. Right, we're on to. It looks like we're on to the final lap now, as James Hartnell has crossed the line. Is the Rettifilio chicane in the 168 Ferrari? There's Adam Isalovic still closing on the back bumper of Aaron Martin Pilkington. And it's been quite interesting all the way through this race. Okay, time has now expired. Oh, it's getting a bit argy-bargy in the latter stages. Adam Isalovic was nearly close to rubbing door panels with Aaron Martin Pilkington and thought better of it.
Yeah, great respect from the drivers. They know each other, you know, they practice with each other for the fortnight in between the races, so everyone's got to know each other, and the racing is getting closer and closer as that happens. But Adam and Aaron Martin Pilkington, they will battle close, they will battle hard. Just because we're all friends and talk in practice doesn't mean we want to be beaten in the race. So.
Right, so we are on the effectively the 50th and final lap here at Monza for the halfway point of the Simsport Racing ACC Season 3 GT3 Round 5 here at Monza, and it has been quite literally a dominant display by one driver above all, and that man is the 168 Ferrari of Tempesta Racing's James Hartnell, who is literally a few corners away from taking the fight to Archie Clifford Roberts. And round the final corner comes James Hartnell. This will put him second in the championship. Checkered flag waves, 50 laps completed. Hartnell takes the win here in Monza.
Yeah, well done, James.
And next up will be Regan Mitchell in the number 69, finishing 12.36 seconds behind the winning vehicle. And that will net him quite a considerable score.
But this battle's not over though. Adam is really on the bumper now of Pilkington, and he's going to put a move on him. You've got to say he's going to be looking in the next couple of corners. He's done him, yes, round the outside.
That's how you do it. Nice work, Adam Isalovic. As they it's not done yet. As they go side by side for the final rundown to Parabolica, and Isalovic looks to have the advantage coming through into the corner as Martin Pilkington, they nearly rub panels. A little bit of a touch between the pair, but that is Rubbings Racing, and Isalovic comes out of the final corner. He's going to put the power down, but will Martin Pilkington make it a drag race? Not quite, as Isalovic takes 6th place at the flag, but James Hartnell is the winner for round 5 here at Autodromo Nazionale di Monza. Regan Mitchell will now go to 7th in the standings based on his performance here. I think, if memory serves me correctly, I'm just trying to work out the points. No, actually, puts him a little bit further up the order. Puts him on 171 points, which will then put him 6th in the standings after this round. Dean Riley takes 3rd place. Lukasz Kakos will now end up 7th in the standings, going up a position. He'll be on 168 points as a result of that. Aaron Walker will will be in 3rd place at the end of this, having taken 5th position as the green flares being shown part of the Italian tricolore. There is Dave Hedges, who will be 8th at the end of this, but I'll give you an idea on just the provisional standings. So heading into Zolder in a couple of weeks' time for the 2 30-minute sprint races, Archie Clifford Roberts will have a 26-point advantage over James Hartnell, who is on 226. Then a further 16 points behind will be Chris Crossman. A further 7 points behind that, rounding out the top 4, will be Aaron Walker. Stephen Haley will be in 5th place as a result of his finish today. 6th will be Regan Mitchell, 7th will be Lukasz Kakos, and Dave Hedges, scoring the final 3 points, will round out the top 8. And that is just calculating it on the fly with a piece of paper all the while through. But Steve, what a race here at Monza. Really good, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was beyond the norm. Different lads, different drivers up at the sharp end, as it were. But it was all good. It was good racing. Few incidents that the stewards will be looking at, but they will get looked at. They'll get sorted out, and then we'll all come back at Zolder for the sprint races, like you say, and that's going to be 2 30-minute races. That's give everybody 2 chances on the evening.
Right, well, looks like I'm going to be starting the interviews, as it looks like we've got our first participant, looks to be our 2nd place finisher. I'll just switch microphones very, very briefly, and let's see if we can get some interviews underway here. So, congratulations, Regan Mitchell, 2nd place. I know it was a bit of a tough mountain time as James Hartnell did the clean sweep here this evening at Monza, but you must be pretty happy with that result there, Regan.
Yeah, best I could have got. James was too fast. Just a Ferrari thing.
Well, especially on home soil here at Monza with virtual tifosi screaming from the grandstand. But I mean, this puts you into the top 8 drivers in the standings after what's been a quite solid result. How are you thinking ahead of Zolder in a couple of weeks' time when we have 2 sprint races where it could be a very different proposition altogether?
I haven't even stopped thinking about this one yet.
I don't think myself and Steve Browdy have even stopped thinking about this one. I think this is going to be one of those races that we all won't forget in a long while.
Yeah, I'm probably not due for another podium until maybe Paul Ricard, and that's the last one, isn't it?
That is indeed, but who knows? I'm hoping that the Mercedes keeps on firing on all those cylinders. And, you do a Falterbach proud in the next couple of races, because obviously we've got Zolder and then we got the 2-hour race at Spa-Francorchamps a couple of weeks later. But congratulations on your trip to the runner-up step on the virtual podium here at Monza, Regan.
Thanks very much.
Okay, let's go to our race winner, who now goes, provisionally speaking, second in the championship by just 26 points, a maximum score of 77 for James Hartnell, the 168. I think I've just got one word in Italian to say this, James. Bravo. Well done. Congratulations.
Grazie.
I think we've upped Steve. We've put our one-ups against Steve Proudly there by doing that, haven't we?
Yeah, cheers for that, mate. I wasn't. It sounds bizarre, but I was so unconfident coming into this. I thought that something else was going to scupper it for me, be it technical, because I was having pit issues all week pretty much, and then I actually changed my steering wheel half an hour before qualifying because I was having technical issues with my other one and had to recalibrate to a completely different type of wheel. So yeah, it was interesting.
And obviously, you know, we've seen the likes of Dave Hedges, Stephen Haley and Aaron Walker actually struggle. And obviously Aaron did a really good job to keep himself within the top 5 in the championship, P4, 5th place finish. But it showed that the Ferraris do really like the open straights here at Monza. Did you have an inkling that there was a possibility that the Ferraris would be stronger here as opposed to some of the tracks where there's a lot of where you've got the more technical side of the circuits, like say when we were at Misano, for instance, the Audis are really strong. And then we get to a circuit like Monza where the open straights really do change the dynamic, how the balance of performance works on the respective vehicles.
I think that where something like the Ferrari benefits is that it has a lot of it's inherently very aero, so you can actually take the wings off and you've still got an aero car. And I think that's where it benefits, where maybe some of the others, you take the aero off and the whole platform becomes a bit more unsteady. Whereas the Ferrari has, seems to me to be a bit better in that respect.
And now you've got an opportunity to strike at Archie Clifford Zolder in a couple of weeks' time. How are you fancying your chances now that you've got a real good turn of momentum after here at Monza?
Well, first off, Archie and a lot of the other guys are very fast, as they've already proven. Also, this is by far the worst track for the Audi. There's the other tracks. Sorry, the other 2 cars, as far as I'm concerned, the Audi and the Porsche, aren't weak anywhere else. So, I'd love to be up there mixing it with those guys, but I've got realistic sights, and I'm going to stick for those. I wouldn't want to get too far at one zone derriere.
Very eloquently put there, Mr. Hartnell, I must admit. Well said. But congratulations on the win here at Monza, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks' time at Zolder.
Good, massive race by Regan as well. He really kept me on my toes all the way. I knew that I was one mistake away from losing that race all the way through for 90 minutes. So well done. And I think me and Chris had a very minor coming together on one of the first early laps and stuff. I thought I left him enough room. I'll have to have a look at the replay. But my apologies for that. But cracking racing everywhere else. And thank you to the back markers. Very clean. Appreciate
Indeed.
it.
Thank you very much, James. Congratulations on your win here tonight.
Thanks.
Insights from both James and Regan there, Steve. But hand on heart, we go into the second half of the third season of GT3 here at Simsport Racing. it's only going to get more intense and more action-packed as the weeks draw ever closer for the next round at Zolder.
Yeah, it's going to get more intense because obviously the championship, it starts to take shape. People see who they're battling against, and as James just alluded to there, he knows who he's battling in the championship, and although he doesn't feel maybe it's for the lead, he knows who he's racing against, and that goes for everybody throughout the field. And as these guys get to know each other week after week, they all get their sights set, and you all have your personal battles. So yeah, everything gets a bit more intense and a lot closer, hopefully.
Indeed. Well, that really wraps things up here from a virtual Autodromo Nazionale di Monza. And it's been a pleasure, both myself, Alex Goldschmidt, and Steve Proudley, being able to talk you through the play-by-play. So, just really a couple of bits of housekeeping just to remind you of. Next Wednesday, we head to the penultimate round of the inaugural season of GT4, which will be taking place at the infamous WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna Seca. We'll also have, before the season finale at Zolder, well, before round 6 at Zolder in a couple of weeks' time, that's the 30th of August, we will have also the GT4 season finale at Circuit Zolder on the 26th of August. So 2 weeks of GT4 action to keep you entertained. So thank you very much for watching. Stay safe, look after yourselves, and keep on racing out there. And we'll see you for our GT4 extravaganza this coming Wednesday night at Laguna Seca. Take care.